talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
With your headlines at just coming up to 2 minutes past 10, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Former Spurs defender Ramon Vega has called on Thomas Frank to resign.
It's a big club in terms of England. You need instant success. You don't have time, 3 years, 4 years.
Vega says Tottenham should hire Robbie Keane. Frank expects to get time to turn things around after Spurs lost at Forest, their 6th defeat of the season. Meanwhile, Ruben Amorim calls criticism from the class of 92 fair. He says it's because Man United are not winning enough. Paul Scholes says Amorim's not the right fit. Rio Ferdinand and Nicky Butt say the unfancied Kobbie Mainoo should leave. Man United versus Bournemouth is live on talkSPORT tonight from 7pm. Now, for Ali McCoist, St Mirren beating Celtic in the Scottish League Cup final is just not that big a shock right now. McCoist is local to Paisley, where it's been suggested St Mirren boss Stephen Robinson's given the freedom of the town.
I was travelling to the airport last night and you go through Paisley's. The place was absolutely electric. I mean, the town hall and everything, it was just brilliant for them. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic.
Now, Jeff Stelling is not best pleased with Harry Brooks' latest Ashes press conference.
Never mind their cricket. Who does their PR?
Brooke has said England's players have had a belting time off in Noosa.
It was probably came at the right time when we're 2-0 down. I know most people won't think that, but to get away from the game and try and refresh as much as possible after a tough start to the series, hopefully that can help us leading into this game.
Ahead of the third test, England overlooked spinner Shoaib Bashir again. Will Jacks keeps his place. Josh Tongue is recalled in place of Gus Atkinson. There's more on talkSPORT's Cricket YouTube.
talkSPORT News.
The parents of the man who wrestled a gun off one of the Bondi Beach attackers say he's a hero, and Hollywood director Rob Reiner has been found dead at his home in LA. There's more from the news team in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Rain or shine, our mobile tyre fitting service comes to you, so you can stay on the sofa this winter. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Parts of South Wales are under an amber warning for rain. Western areas covered by a less severe yellow alert. Persistent rain across northern England as well today. South East England mostly dry. Drier and fresher across Scotland.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin O'Neill, and we are live on talkSPORT. So, 3 defeats from 3 as Celtic lose the cup final to St Mirren. As far as managerial debuts go, could there have been a worse week for Wilfried Nancy? Meantime, is the theme of the season continuing? Sunderland, the story of the North East. Also today, who and what was Enzo Maresca driving at? Is there a sense of a déjà vu at Spurs? How long does this remain a 3-way title race? Even by their standards, are FIFA pushing the envelope? And Fury versus AJ signed for 2026. But what will the winner actually prove? Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin O'Neill, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Mr. Jordan, good morning.
Good morning.
I have to say, pride of place, top billing goes to this man. From the talkSPORT studio to the Celtic dugout, back to the talkSPORT studio. Martin O'Neill, good morning.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Simon.
I don't know how he dares show his face. He leaves that Celtic team in such a state, bereft of confidence, devoid of opportunity.
Yeah.
The goal of the man to show up today.
After a fairly whirlwind 7 weeks, it is welcome back to Martin. You had us in a tailspin, Mr. O'Neill. After getting the call from Dermot, Dermot Desmond, the majority shareholder at Celtic. Brendan Rodgers had resigned and you were going in on an interim basis. Want to get your reaction to this, Martin. A bit of breaking news. Top journalist David Ornstein, Simon, this might be news to you just in the last few moments. Aramco-owned Al Qadsiya, 5th at the moment in the Saudi Pro League. Brendan is travelling there as we speak. Brendan Rodgers set to head out to Al Qadsiya in the Saudi Pro League. Funnily enough, James Bisgrove is the chief executive of that particular Saudi club. What's your reaction to that, Martin?
Well, gosh, it's a bit of a surprise, really. I don't know whether. I just don't know.
And that's fair enough.
Yeah.
What do you think, Simon?
Oh, it's definitely a football move. I mean, it's an advancing of his career. It's a natural progression. Obviously, from managing Premier League clubs to the biggest club in Scotland, arguably, onto managing a team in Saudi. It's a natural progression.
Is that where his stock is now?
No, I think that's where the money is. And as much as I might be slightly tongue-in-cheek, you can... I mean, the perception of going to Saudi is that that's the end of your career because it's not really a football move, it's a money move.
Yeah.
And despite the protestations of the fellow that came on the other day about his ownership model of Saudi and all of that sort of stuff, it's still a bit part league in comparison with the major leagues. It won't always be. But Nuno Espirito Santo is living proof that you can go there, manage, go for a bag of money and come back. And I suspect so is Rafa Benitez.
Yeah.
Because they've gone there and they've come back and managed bigger clubs. So...
Well, Martin, you never know. If Brendan resigns out there sooner or later, you might have to get the fact to 50.
I've told you about principles, you know.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah,
you haven't got. I'll give you news to every time. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
yeah.
I think Simon's right. I think that at this minute, the very first thought that people would have if you are heading in that direction, then you're heading for some big money.
Martin, welcome back. In all honesty, what is your overriding feeling being sat in that seat beside Simon and myself here at talkSPORT, as opposed to sitting in the Celtic dugout?
Well, you know how much I enjoy Simon's company, so and I'm delighted to be back again. It was just a whirlwind time. I left this very studio at about 1:10 or something. I guess here, and about 4:30, I get a call from Dermot Desmond, the major shareholder, saying that Brendan had resigned, and he said that he had searched around for a lot of people and that I was 133rd in the list.
Available, yeah.
And he said, would you come up? Because the 132nd person had just died. So
you were the only guy he contacted. You know that. I know that.
And and I'm obviously I was very, very worried about it because really not having managed for some time. Secondly, if you fail, you are considered too old for the job and that this is a young man's game. All those particular things that obviously concerned me at the time. And I think I've said this in a number of occasions. My 2 daughters were all on for it. And my wife said, well, you'll mess it up anyway. And and thankfully, I don't think I messed it up. She still reminds me that we lost to Michelin, you know, and we'd won the other 7 games. But overall, it was a thing I genuinely probably couldn't turn down, a chance to get in and a chance to feel, you know, working with young people, working with young coaches that I actually had managed quite some years ago, Sean Maloney, Mark Fotheringham and Steve McManus. And really, I thought the combination was fine. In this aspect is that, you know, an older head going in there with a bit of experience, experience doesn't really matter. Sometimes you can lose it all.
Yeah.
But and working with young people reinvigorated me.
Even after all the time that's passed since you were there first time around, and you enjoyed such huge success, did you feel in a funny way you still had something to prove being asked back?
Oh, I think you've always something to prove in the game, and I think that if I did have some sort of motivation, and it wasn't the foremost thought in my mind, but at some stage or another, I'm sure I thought about it. It was, you know, all this bitterness that I had over the Nottingham Forest affair, and I think, do I want to leave this? Do I want to leave the game in this sort of state? So in essence, I got this opportunity to do it, and I wanted to try and put it right, if anything. So I feel much less bitter than I did before.
So after the Nottingham Forest experience, is this a bit of vindication?
Well, in my mind, whether it's vindication or whether people feel that or not, I'm not so sure. But me, I just feel less bitter, but not entirely corrected.
Did you get a little bit of validation?
Yes.
Yes.
Fair play, Martin.
Yes.
Did you leave the club last night, or whenever it was, when Nancy came in, and I'm going to get to that, with good grace? Was there any motivation from your side or the board side for you to carry on?
Right, okay. I stepped into the job. Dermot had said to me, he said, you could be in 2 weeks or 2 months. We're looking for someone, which I absolutely right. You know, that's the board's decision to do that. And they'd be looking for somebody younger. So my job was, I've used the phrase, and I don't think it was actually used by Dermot, like holding the fort for a while. But when you get into it, you really enjoy it. You're enjoying it. Well, you enjoy winning. That's the point. This is what it's about. You enjoy winning the games. We got well and truly turned over against Michelin. We were physically blasted out of sight. So for us to come back and win in Feyenoord, and in the manner in which we did, was just like as if, well, that's great. I can put that is right now. So it gave us a chance to still qualify for the Europa League. And then to follow, not obviously beating Rangers in the second game was big, still is big. I know McCoist has just left the studio, but that's massive. So from that viewpoint, it was really terrific.
So were you motivated to stay on, Mark?
So motivated to stay on. If they had asked me to stay on, I would have done so. But the minute that they said, no, listen, that's your time, that is fine by me. That is exactly
Was that ever a conversation?
Yeah, the conversation was when the new man became in place, whoever that was. I didn't know who it was when we were set out in the first place. I think that they had a number of candidates. But whoever it was going to be, when everything was passed, when the paperwork was passed, when everything was done, and that man wanted to step in at a certain time, absolutely fine by me.
Did you not want to take Celtic, be honest with me, into yesterday's League Cup final?
Only if asked. And that wasn't really important. And I say that in all sincerity. That was not a driving force in the whole thing. You know, beating Rangers in the semi-final gave us a chance in the final. Listen, finals are still difficult, but at the end of it all, I didn't. If the board had said, listen, you know, we still have a problem with visas and things like this here, I'd happily have stayed on. Whatever that game may be, my last game. But that was not a driving force from my viewpoint.
8 games, 7 wins, 1 defeat. What happened? Wilfred Nancy comes in. Did you go immediately, or did you stay for a day or some hours or a couple of days I think to help him bed in?
Right. I think, the board asked me, would I stay on and speak to the incoming manager? So my last game was on a Wednesday night against Dundee. I would have been flying back to London anyway on the Thursday, but I stayed until later on, and I met the incoming manager. Very affable, very 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 nice. It's only a 10 or 15 minute conversation. What can you make of that of anybody at this time? It's like when I first met Simon, I thought not so sure, and it took me at least 5 meetings to decide I was right in the first place. But overall, I think that this is it. You know, so he's got his own philosophy, his own viewpoint in the game, and that is absolutely fine. But I was not going to be coming in and giving him advice on how to run. But
what did you say to him about Celtic? You must have said something.
No, very very little. He would have seen the matches.
Man, it wasn't a 15-minute conversation. Surely.
I promise you, it was no longer than that.
So what was the purpose of it, if it was that brief?
What did you want me to do? Did you want me to run through
Oh, why did Dermot Desmond want you to hang around to welcome Wilfred Nancy? Obviously, Dermot, I'm presuming, wanted Martin O'Neill, steeped in the football club, to pass a bit of that on to the incoming man.
I would have passed on anything that the incoming manager would have wanted to have heard from me. That's it. It's as simple as that there. He didn't... he had his own view on players, and that's absolutely fine. But seriously, I would have given him the thing that I thought was important is that for him to bed in, for him to get put his own mark in the football club, very, very important with the January window coming up. They've lost a couple of players to the African Cup of Nations, and they need the squad needs supplementing.
Martin, it's great to have you back. We'll do more on this the other side of this break. But as managerial debuts go, could there have been a worse week for Wilfred Nancy at Celtic? Celtic fans tuning in, many messages coming in. Don't worry, we'll get to them and we'll get your calls as well. Martin O'Neill back in our midst this Monday morning, and we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday morning. We are racing towards Christmas Day. Monday, December the 15th. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin O'Neill, and we are live on talkSPORT. Live on YouTube as well, so if you want to watch us, you can. Live on Samsung, Chromecast, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch the show, you can. So Martin O'Neill, after his spell as interim manager at Celtic, is back with us now. And it's up to you, Wilfred Nancy. But for Wilfred Nancy, who came over from the MLS, it's been far from a happy baptism. Martin came and went. 8 games, 7 wins, 1 defeat. It's been a disaster for Nancy. He lost the Scottish League Cup final yesterday to St Mirren at Hampden Park, and well done, St Mirren. Only one winner there, and it certainly wasn't Celtic. 3-1, St Mirren won it. And what does that make it for Nancy? 3 losses in 3 for him. This was Nancy post-match.
Before the final that they deserve to have good results, because I know that I came in and it was not easy for them in terms of change. They had to adapt regarding certain things, and the engagement that they have is they are really engaged. So there is no doubt with that. But now this is more about the what I ask individually, and so recognize when we have time on the ball to go to attack the box, recognize when instead of playing the long ball can we play, recognize instead of playing back can we play forward. This is more about the connection between 1, 2, 3 players.
Wilfred Nancy, after Celtic lost the League Cup final 3-1 to St Mirren. Simon, I'm going to get to the man sitting to your left in a second, but from the way I see it, because of the way Martin went about it and what he achieved in his spell up there, it was always going to be difficult for Nancy, difficult for anyone coming in.
Not really. Why would it be difficult? Difficult's coming into something that's broken. This wasn't.
Well, Martin was a big act to follow.
Sure, but Martin steadied the ship. He did. Dermot was very fortunate to have brought Martin in, and if he's made the right appointments, then he's very fortunate that Martin steadied the ship, got the motivation going in the right direction, won the games that needed to be won, put Celtic back into focus on the field rather than potentially off it. And if he's got the right manager, if they've appointed the right manager, then it should not be difficult, unless the manager that you're bringing in isn't thinking clearly about the task that he's inherited and the balance of the team that he's got to play with. I mean, you don't change things if it's not broken. You don't try and fix it, do you? And it wasn't broken. If you won 7 out of 8 games, Martin said, he talked about Forest playing the team that beat his side and how physically strong they were. So it wasn't a surprise that Celtic got turned over by them because they were a strong side. But look at the results that he got. I mean, the only regret I'd imagine that he would have had is if he had played St Mirren in the semi-finals of the Cup and Rangers were awaiting him in the final, he probably definitely would have wanted to stay. Mm-hmm. But everything was done for the fella to walk in the door and just go, right, okay, I'll implement my changes, perhaps subtly and over a period of time, and bring the playing squad with me. And perhaps he's gone too fast.
So Martin, what has Wilfred Nancy inherited from you?
Well, that's a good point. What has he inherited? He is well. First of all, I think that, and it's a digression for a moment or two. You've got to give managers chances. You've got to give them a chance. If I think back to my own time at Leicester City, where I eventually enjoyed really nice success but overall when I went in there first of all, and I don't even think but my head was right really, because I'd left Norwich after 6 months, used that old excuse about fighting with chairman and stuff like this here at the end of it all, and it was really all my own fault. And so I'm coming in not in the best frame of mind. I can't win a game to save my life, crowd begging for blood, and after 10 games. So you've got to have to... And I think to myself how lucky I was to win a couple of matches of real importance at a stage. So this is it. Coming into a situation now, you've just got to win. You've got to win. You've got to go and steady it again now. If it's gone afloat a bit or whatever the case may be, you just go in and win a game or two. And so there's some excellent players at the football club. There's some boys who have won big times as well. Captain's a terrific example of that. They're really, really good. It was brilliant for me and brilliant to me. And so just again, sometimes lean on some of the senior players. Lean on them, and get them on your side.
I mean, I accept it's maybe not. It's the most straightforward baptism for Nancy top of the table Hearts, Roma, who are decent at any time, and then a cup final against St Mirren.
Well, I could have lost all of those games as well too. So that's.
But your mantra to the Celtic players, I have heard, as soon as you went over the threshold, was we got to win. Am I right?
Yeah.
Be honest here, Martin. Is that what you pushed and pushed and pushed to them? You must win.
Well, if you're pushing that to players at Celtic, they've got to listen first time round, So it's prerequisite. You got to win. You got to win. Listen, if you're managing in the National League at this minute, you got to win. But it's so relevant up in Scotland and Celtic and Rangers. That's it. You win first of all. Now, I had a way back. I put together a really good team way back 20 odd years ago. Really good side. I inherited some really great players, and I brought some really good players to the football club. And you have to win. But that they had to win.
Right, I'm looking at messages I'm getting in. I'm looking at my Twitter feed. He'll be back at Celtic in no time, Jim. Paul, never mind talkSPORT, Jim. With the graces of respect, getting back in the Celtic dugout. That's you they're talking about. Yeah. So here it comes. He's come in, played 3, lost 3. One of them's a cup final. Is it recoverable for Wilfred Nancy, Martin?
Absolutely. Of course it is. And I'm not just saying that. It is recoverable, of course. You still have to... You're in the football club 10 or 12 days. And even though you probably have watched the team play and you still have to learn about the players. And I have to learn about the players myself. I got great help from a coaching staff, and I felt, as I said earlier, young men involved in the game who have been involved heavily in the game. Sean Maloney's been a manager at once at his own stages. And so I leaned on certain things. But in many aspects, it was a throwback to my earlier days there, going into the football club, allowing coaches like Steve Walford to go and coach. And I will oversee things and then put my stamp, for want of a better word, on the team.
So what are you saying to the many Celtic fans who clearly, from what I'm seeing this morning, have major doubt in their mind about Wilfred Nancy? A, did he impress you? And B, were you impressed when you read his CV?
Yeah, it doesn't... I've always said this here. You will never know whether a manager is any good or not. You can have the greatest CV in the world, as has been proved over the last 20-odd years, as a footballer or whatever the case may be, and maybe not make the grade as a manager. But it doesn't... You can... and things are eventually a bit of a progression. I suppose I never looked at it like this, believe it or not, because when I went to Wycombe Wanderers, first of all, I wasn't starting to think about, wonder could I manage Manchester United or Real Madrid? When we lost to Bromsgrove, I didn't think that. But at the end of it all, what I'm saying is this here, that there might be a natural progression on it, and you've got to work at it. Every single football club, you should not be thinking of a football club as a stepping stone. You should be thinking about trying to win for that football club, and then things might happen because of winning.
So what's your message to all the Celtic fans, and I mean many who are messaging in this morning, who are saying it's a polite no thanks to Wilfred Nancy and Martin, we want you back?
No, you cannot make a judgment on anybody over 3 games, and I don't care about the matches were difficult. Roma was going to be a difficult game, whether you're playing at home or not. Hearts was the top of the table clash, and a cup final, a cup final's a cup final. You have got to give a manager some time. And what would you...
You got him out the corner of your eye there, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I'll hand it over to the maestro. What would you have... As a now, you have employed
really,
a manager for 3 games.
Well, I would have kept you in situ to the end of the season.
All right, but what would you have done if you had employed a manager?
I don't think I'd have employed this manager. And ultimately, I would have expected him to have faltering Hearts that weren't in great form. They'd drawn the last couple of games, so they weren't in momentum. A Roma game, which I knew would have been difficult, and a cup final that I have to win. I'd be disappointed, is what I'd be.
And you wouldn't have employed him, Simon?
Well, I've said that, haven't I? I've said that from the outset. I don't think, with all due respect to his credentials, and there's a stepping stone. Celtic's not a stepping stone. Celtic is one of 2 clubs in Scotland that has to win. End of discussion, has to win. And when he came in, it wasn't broken. Brendan's tantrums were causing off-the-field challenges. And so with Brendan gone, Put a sensible voice in there that holds order and does sensible things.
Yeah.
You win football matches in Scotland and any league.
And if you were Dermot Desmond, you would have kept the man to your left on until the end of the season.
But there's no reason not to. What's the haste? What's the hurry? Unless you'd already made that decision. And for me, the Martin O'Neill that hadn't been out of the game for 7 years would have perhaps demanded a little bit more Celtic.
Yeah.
Than the Martin O'Neill that's gone back in for seven games and have a greater expectation of himself that actually I'm not here to fill a gap for you. I'll come back and do a job for you, but I want something in return for it. Not just be weighed in for 7 games. I want to do a job for a period of time.
I'm going to offer a real treat for Celtic fans getting in touch this morning. You can call us this morning. Don't bother about me or Simon. This is your opportunity to speak to Martin. Martin O'Neill, after returning to us after his interim spell at Celtic, 8 games, 7 wins, just 1 defeat. Can Wilfred Nancy turn this thing around? That's a simple question. 03717 223344. We're waiting for your calls.
Josh Tongue's recalled for the 3rd Ashes test as Gus Atkinson's rested. That's the only England change for this must-win game. With careers on the line, Vice-Captain Harry Brooks says the players have had a lovely time off in Noosa.
It was probably came at the right time when we're 2-0 down. I know most people won't think that, but to get away from the game and try and refresh as much as possible after a tough start to the series, hopefully that can help us leading into this game.
That's not gone down well on talkSPORT Breakfast, where the boys are thinking of the long-suffering Barmy Army.
At what point did Harry think they'd be delighted to hear that he's had a couple of belting days?
Yeah. Yes.
More on talkSPORT's Cricket YouTube. Alan Pardew says Thomas Frank must be given time to turn things around. Frank's described Spurs as not a quick fix. They've only had 1 win in their last 7 games. Meanwhile, Ruben Amorim accepts criticism from Man United's class of '92 as fair.
The problem is that me as a manager, I'm not doing good enough. And that is a fact also, and I can accept that. So that is the only problem.
Paul Scholes said Amorim's not the right man and the unfancied Kobbie Mainoo should leave. Man United v Bournemouth is live on talkSPORT tonight from 7 p.m. And Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes is out for the season after tearing his ACL. The Chiefs have failed to make the NFL playoffs for the first time in 11 seasons. More on the talkSPORT USA YouTube.
Good morning, everybody. Monday morning, Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin O'Neill, and we are live on talkSPORT. Later on this morning, we're going to talk boxing. Ring Magazine reported that the fight between Fury and Joshua has been signed for 2026. So it seems we're going to get it, whether we like it or not. This coming weekend, we're going to be getting, Anthony Joshua against Jake Paul. But we'll get to that in the fullness of time. Right now, have you changed your view in that? Are you going or not going? You're staying?
No, I couldn't face the ass-kissing sycophancy that was required to go over there, so I'm not going now.
Martin, in the time you've been back up in Glasgow, nothing's changed down here. You get that impression?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, many calls coming in, specifically for Martin O'Neill, on Martin O'Neill, at Celtic. And what about this man, Wilfred Nancy? Can he turn it round? So Rod Stewart on tour at the moment, big Celtic fan. Jim Martin is the most polite, courteous man in football. He is adored by every Celtic fan on the planet. Here's my question. If asked, would he have stayed on until the end of the season?
If asked, yes, I would have done. Yeah.
Yeah, you would have done. Are you in any way disappointed you weren't asked?
No.
Okay. We'll squeeze more out of him in the coming minutes, Simon.
He is.
You think he is?
Of course he is.
No, I'm not.
Oh, sure.
Let's get to the phone lines because, my God, as we expected, many Celtic fans want their say on this morning. 03717 223344. Dave, good morning to you. Thanks for being first up. I'll get to Martin in a second. On Nancy, is this recoverable, do you think, Dave?
I don't think it is, lads. You know, I've been a long time listener, first time caller, so it's great to speak to you, lads. But I don't think it is recoverable. I think he's on a downward spiral straight in the door, and unless he pulls something out of the bag really quick, I reckon he'll be a quick exit just as fast as he's come in.
Dave, I'm going to give you the opportunity, which many Celtic fans would bite off my hand to be given. You're through to Martin. What do you want to say to him?
Martin, man, I love you. Love you to bits, mate. But what, like, I mean, he's kind of stole my thunder a wee bit. I was going to ask you the same question again. Like, if you had the opportunity, would you have stayed on? You've said yes already. If Nancy does get the boot, would you be back in the fold? Would you be entertained to become back?
I just reiterate what it said. I think you've got to give the man some chance, please. I know in this day and age, results from the off are very, very important, and I know that. But I go back to my own experience again. If I never won a game but I think it was my 10th game before winning at Leicester. Crowd were baying for blood, so I know the feeling. I think you got to just give it a chance. I know it was really disappointing yesterday to lose a cup final, but overall, just give the man a chance.
And I get what you're saying, but I mean, when you came to Celtic, that wasn't the case. It wasn't 10 games on the bounce. And for anybody up in Scotland, Leicester's they're not good enough to be spoken about in the same conversation as Celtic, because you've only got the two top teams in Scotland, really. 3 if we're counting Hearts at the minute. I mean, they're onto a right blinder. But at the same time, you're not going to come into any big top flight stuff in Celtic and get away with losing 10 games.
No, you don't. You're not supposed to lose at Celtic. That's true. So, but it has happened. But they can fight back from that. Well, they have to fight back from that.
Yeah, Dave. Thanks
for the call. Much
thanks
appreciated.
For the call, Dave. Ewan's been waiting patiently. I know Ewan. I think you're a regular caller. If I've got the right Ewan, and I hope I have. What do you want to say to Martin?
You have indeed, Jim. I'm a big fan of the show and a big fan of Mr. Martin O'Neill. So I just want to offer him a heartfelt thank you for answering his phone and coming back and sorting us out. we've managed to make a pig's ear of it since he's left. So we made a pig's ear before he got there, and we've made a pig's ear since he left. So he's the one constant, and it wasn't just the nostalgia. I've loved the nostalgia. I've been driving about in my van singing his name. I've got my young daughter singing his name, driving my wife insane, jumping about, shouting Martin O'Neill in the living room. And I've loved every minute of it. But it's not just the nostalgia. He came in with a strong arm and a cool head. He didn't try to reinvent the wheel, and he knows what works. The man can win football matches, and that's what he done. And I just want to thank him from the bottom of my heart for doing that.
Ewan, thanks very much indeed. Really, really appreciate it. But I had the time of my life there for 36 or 37 days, whatever it may be. And I now feel, beside Jordan and White, I feel about 26 here at the minute.
Ewan, thanks so much for the call. I was mixing that Ewan up with another one. Hey-ho. Danny, big Celtic fan. I'll put it to you, Danny, and then you can talk to Martin. Wilfred Nonsi, is his situation a recoverable one?
No, it's not, Jim. Good evening, panel. Listen, this manager's completely out of his depth on the touchline, in game, pre-match interviews, post-match interviews, you name it. Man's completely out of his depth. Martin, I absolutely appreciate what you've done for Celtic.
Thank you, Danny.
Don't get me wrong. You're a club legend. But by the same token, I know you don't want to go against your employer, Dermot Desmond, but let's just call it as it is, tell us it is. These 3 games have been nothing short of an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
And you've been about the block long enough, Martin. You know that. You've been watching football a long time, and obviously you've played the game at the highest level. You've 2 European Cups.
You sound, Danny, like a man pretty close to where I was born. So
have you ever heard of Castle Derg?
Of course, mate. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Castle Derg man.
Are you?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you're right about not going against Dermot Desmond. I can't. He gave me the opportunity way back 25 years ago when he had bigger names to choose from, and so I got that opportunity to manage Celtic, which is like phenomenal. And then I get this opportunity again, and he chose me again, which was great because there I was just having very, very dear cups of coffee on King's Road. And I wouldn't suggest that to anybody now because really, I mean, a cappuccino's pretty well close to about £7 now at the minute. And I can't afford that, to tell you the truth. So I got that opportunity again, and he did say to me that they were in the process of choosing another manager at the time, and that's fine. So I got the opportunity to manage Celtic again, which I'd never, ever thought in my life it could happen. So for 7 games or 35 or 36 days, I'm eternally grateful.
No, granted, and I appreciate that, Martin. It's nice to hear that. But what about this manager? He's completely out of his depth. I don't know, I'm sure you would agree with that, but whether you would say it or not in national radios and everything, obviously you don't want to go against your employer.
Danny, just give him a chance, please. Give him a chance. We've got a big game coming up in a few days' time as well too, so just hold fire.
Danny, listen, thanks for that. Martin, on that game briefly, Dundee United away, Celtic would be expected ordinarily to win that. At the moment they won't be.
Well, it'll be difficult, of course. I mean, but whatever you say about when you start to lose football games, the confidence drops. Confidence drops with players again, and then it becomes more difficult. It's to stop a losing streak. So that it is a very, very big game for them, and it's a match that perhaps maybe some time ago that they would have gone in with some sort of trepidation, but not complete and utter fear. But and here, yeah, just it's a difficult one. Listen, when I had players like Larson and that, they're still going to Tannadice was very, very difficult.
And we can't predict the future, of course we can't. But just to reaffirm this, if Celtic, for whatever reason, were to come back in for you again at some stage this season, am I right? You would say no.
First of all, I'm talking to the gentleman beside me who's never believed in hypothesis, and that would be hypothetical. Totally hypothetical, and it's like asking me, is my next birthday 74? Which it would be.
So your legacy at Celtic.
I'll tell you, but what I'm saying, it hasn't reinvigorated me. There's no question about that there. When you're dealing with young people, it does make you feel much younger. And I suppose deep down, really, if that manager of Roma, Gasperini, is only about 26 months younger than me, or some, might be more. But yeah, why not? Why not? You know, I think I have as much energy as most managers at the minute. Yeah.
Okay, many more callers trying to get through. We'll see what we can do. Stay with us. So many calls coming in for Martin this morning. We're going to get to them in a second. Welcome back, Martin O'Neill, says John Williams, who's a big Swansea fan. 2 big games coming up, Wrexham at home and then Coventry, says John. But it's a warm welcome back to the game to the show for Martin O'Neill. Martin, having been up at Celtic on interim charge, now it's over to you, Wilfred Nancy, who has had a very, very tricky baptism as head coach at Celtic. But so many of you want to get through to Martin, and who are we to deny you that opportunity this morning? Because it's a special time for the great man sitting to Simon's left. He had a terrific time up there. 8 games, 7 wins, 1 defeat. And now there is a huge clamouring for Martin to go back there. But, of course, Martin, has to respect the fact that Wilfred Nancy is the man in situ. But is it recoverable for Wilfred Nancy? The start he's made has been far from the one he envisaged. Melissa is a big Celtic fan. Melissa, good morning. You're through to us. You're through to Martin.
Good morning. So I'd like to ask Martin, if Nancy's not out of his depth, what was the formation at the Cup game about yesterday? So Scales was on the wing, McCown was at the back. I mean, it was just bizarre, and then he didn't make subs till the 70th minute. So I was wondering if Martin would make those errors as well, or is Nancy out of his depth?
Oh, I could easily have made those errors, Melissa. I could easily have done that. So, listen, if a manager has a system to play, then that's it. You know, if you've got a method of playing and you believe in this here, then you're going to go with it, and that's what that's what they've done. But
but Melissa's got a point, Martin. He uses a back three. What would you have done against St Mirren?
Well.
Come on,
Melissa,
you know it's coming.
No, but me having another system doesn't necessarily mean that I win a game. I've said this so often that systems don't win football matches.
But why didn't you ever use a back three?
I did use a back three ages ago. I used a back three at Leicester.
Ages ago.
Oh yeah. Hold on. And then when I came to Celtic, first of all, I used a back three. And we had 2 wing backs at the time, and that was for most of the time that I
was your expectation when you went out the door? Was your expectation with the games that were in front of him that he would win the League Cup final and that he would beat Hearts? Was that your expectation? And I know you don't want to answer this question because you want to be diplomatic. No, but the fact of the matter is going into those games when you walked out, irrespective of what the conversation you did or didn't have with him, right? Would you have expected him to win those games?
I thought the games were difficult in front of him, and particularly someone coming in and pretty new to it. I thought that
Would you have expected to win those games?
Well, am I expected to win
not the Celtic stock line of winning games, the actual games that were there, the games against Hearts in the form that Hearts were going into that game in and the Cup final. Put aside Roma. Give Roma as a pass because you can lose in Europe easily against a top side like Roma. Would you have expected, given what you saw and the team that you had and the form that they were in, would you have expected to beat Hearts in that game and to have beaten St Mirren in the final?
Okay, well, I don't expect to win games.
Yes, you do. You've got a Celtic manager. You know that's baked into your thinking. That's what you have to do. You've impressed it upon us emphatically that managing Celtic requires you to win.
But
I've
changed my mind. I've changed my mind.
Not for the purpose of this conversation.
I've changed my mind since. Melissa, I don't know whether you're still on there at this minute, but these people trying to push me into a situation here.
Come on, Melissa. You tell him what's on your mind, right, and be specific about it.
Well, on my mind, I don't think we had the best opportunity to win against Roma. That was off the cards, but I think we should have won yesterday the Cup game against St Mirren, and I think I can speak on behalf of all the Celtic fans that we want you back, Martin.
Melissa, that's very, very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed. Again, I get back to the point where that the 35 or 36 days, whatever I had there, was like a whirlwind. It was like somebody had transported me into another world, and which I loved and I will cherish forever. Seriously, just to go back to the football club, even for the short period of time, was terrific. But really, thank you for
Melissa,
the support.
thank you very much indeed
really
for the call.
Thank you.
Mark, I'm coming to you. I know you've been waiting patiently and you've got something to say to Martin. Have you? Go on for it.
Good morning, gentlemen. Firstly, an absolute privilege and an honour to speak to the great Martin O'Neill and thank him for his time there. If I may, gentlemen, I've got a point to make on Nancy and then a question for Martin, if I may.
Yeah.
Just on Nancy, I think his system is so easy to play against, and it's not rocket science. St Mirren yesterday had 2 big lumps up top who can run a bit, hold the ball up, and have got a decent bit of quality about them. All they done when they got the ball was go up to them. They bullied the 2 centre-halves, got them up the pitch, and they created a host of chances off the back of it. And I think any team with any bit of nous about them will be able to play against Celtic and get joy against Celtic, because we're ridiculously exposed with this system. So that's my thoughts on Nonsi. But if we follow Martin's logic and we have to give this guy some time, which, you know, I don't want to go against Martin, but I'm struggling with that. But if that is the case, you've been there, Martin, you've seen this squad, you've had a look under the bonnet. What does this squad need come January? I'm not talking about specific players, but position-wise, where would you strengthen if you had the budget in January?
Well, that's you know, I would be saying something now. I'm not, one, Mark, thank you very much for your words, but I'm not in charge. Two, yeah, I like most managers that I'd speak to, people have different thoughts on one, approach of play, two, what sort of players to put into certain positions.
How many new players would they need in the window?
Yeah, well, you definitely need to supplement the squad. There's no question about that there. While January is a difficult transfer window for people, the truth is this year that the squad needs it needs a greater depth to it, and I think that's pretty obvious.
Is it a fact though, Martin? I think Mark's maybe driving at this. The Celtic team that you had with Hartson, Sutton, Larsson, people like that, Boba Balde, would wipe the floor with this Celtic team.
Oh well, listen, Jim. Honestly, you just mentioned some players that are a really good side, but I'd still went in with that team and still worried about domestic fixtures as much as I worried about domestic fixtures.
Did you recognise them? Did you watch the games? Did you watch the games since you left?
Yes.
Did you recognise the team?
Yes, I recognise the players.
Did you no, not in terms of what they look like, in terms of their performance. Did you? Obviously, you walked out of the dressing room. You've had 7 or 8 games, and you've achieved things that I would have thought you would have achieved, and you did go and achieve. You did precisely
that's very nice of you.
What I thought you would do, right? But now you're watching this team. Did you recognise this team?
Some of the positions.
No. You're not going to offend anybody. You're not going to alienate yourself from Dermot Desmond. I know you're trying to dance the dance of the 7 veils here and avoid the ultimate outcomes of making a manager's job more difficult.
Of course, but this is a difficult.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not. You're not going to burn any bridges or create any outcomes.
No,
we know
I'm
this much social media are going to write things that you say.
I'm not too worried about burning.
Get on with it.
Get on with what? Yeah.
Get on with answering a bloody question honestly. Okay. Did you look at that side and think, well, actually, that side represents a team that I've been managing for the last 8 games?
I'll tell you what you should do then. All right, go and buy Sheffield Wednesday and employ a 73-year-old manager.
Stranger things have happened.
Right.
He's sitting right beside you.
That's called deflection. Right. Go back to the original question. Did you recognise that side in those games?
That's a great question from Simon, Mark.
It is from his viewpoint, isn't it? It's not here from City.
Come on, though.
For you too.
No. It's every manager has a system to play, but again, I get back to the point. It doesn't really matter about systems. You've got to have to win.
Did you recognise the spirit of the team going into these games? And did you look at that group of players and say, "That's what I left. That's exactly what I left." And so there's something else is going on. I don't know what it is, but that's exactly what I left. Or did you look at it and go, "That ain't right"?
No, because if you lose a game, people will turn around immediately and say, "That ain't right. That's not right." Just the way you said it. I know. Mm-hmm. Did you say "ain't right" as well?
Yeah, right.
That's I like that.
A little colloquialism.
Here's one for you just before we go to 11 o'clock, and then we'll tie it all up the other side of the break. But Frank, you've been waiting patiently. A final word from you. Good morning.
It's a word. It's first a wee message and then a quick word to question to Martin. Martin, you're my beloved Martin O'Neill, as you are to every Celtic supporter, and I thank you for everything you've done. I would like to make a general point here, and it's absolutely worrying me to the point. We have at this moment in football a poison that's sweeping through football called knee-jerk reaction, getting rid of managers, not in seasons anymore, not in months, not even weeks, but in games. And this poison, and it is a poison, is killing football. And I fear, listening to the first number of calls we had in your show, it swept into my beloved Celtic, my beautiful Celtic, who have got a support that's gentle and patient, that's forgiving, and will support the manager through thick and thin, as it did with Ange Postecoglou. These same callers this morning would have been on shouting for Ange Postecoglou 4 years ago.
Yeah, I see where you're going with it, Frank. What do you want to say to
Jim, I just like...
Go on, Frank.
It's really, really, really important here.
Yeah.
And I'm asking Celtic supporters everywhere all over the world that listen to this programme,
Let's be back to being Celtic supporters again. Take this through thick and thin, faithful through and through. Be what we are and not what we're becoming. We have to step back from this rush to judgment, lynch mob mentality. And Martin, I want to ask you a question, please. I'm asking you, please, make a plea to the Celtic supporters who have lost their sense of rationale, who have lost their sense of what it is to be a Celtic supporter, and get a grip of themselves, pull themselves together right now, and get behind Wilfried Nancy. This guy's a breath of fresh air, which means a lot of change in the way we play. And I'm asking Celtic supporters, be patient with Wilfried. Let him do his job. Let him go on with it, make his mistakes, but support him. And he'll come out the other end and we'll have an exciting, wonderful
Frank,
team.
thank you for that. Martin, briefly,
Frank,
what do you want to say?
Absolutely with you. I'm with you. Absolutely with you.
Frank, listen, thanks for your call, and thanks for all the calls. We'll run this all off with Martin and Celtic. The other side of this.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 5 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Martin O'Neill is just urging Celtic fans to be patient with Wilfried Nancy, who's lost his first 3 games in charge.
You cannot make a judgment on anybody over 3 games, and I don't care about the matches were difficult.
He says Nancy should seek help from Celtic's senior pros. Martin would have stayed on if he was asked and felt he had something to prove as Celtic interim after being sacked by Nottingham Forest back in 2019.
I got this opportunity to do it, and I wanted to try and put it right, if anything. So I feel much less bitter than I did before.
Meanwhile, we understand Brendan Rodgers has gone to Saudi Arabia to finalise taking over at Al Qadsiya. There's more on this story at talksport.com. Now, former Tottenham defender Ramon Vega doesn't think Thomas Frank should get time to fix Spurs.
I'm not sure about this guy. best thing to do for him, should be resigning, because that's not what he should do. Time. What kind of time you have in the Premier League? We are talking Tottenham Hotspurs here.
Vega says Spurs should hire Ferencvaros boss Robbie Keane. Tottenham lost their 6th league game of the season away at Forest. Meanwhile, Ruben Amorim accepts criticism from Man United's class of 92 as fair.
The problem is that me as a manager, I'm not doing good enough, and that is a fact also, and I can accept that. So that is the only problem for them, is that Manchester United is not winning.
Paul Scholes has said Amorim is not the right man for the job. Rio Ferdinand says the unfancied Kobbie Mainoo should leave. Man United versus Bournemouth is live on talkSPORT tonight from 7 p.m. Mariah Carey will sing at San Siro in February. That's for the Winter Olympics opening ceremony. And Harry Brooks says England's cricketers have had a belting few days off in Noosa despite going 2-0 down in the Ashes ahead of that must-win third test. Josh Tongue comes in for Gus Atkinson as spinner Shoaib Bashir misses out again. More on talkSPORT's Cricket YouTube.
talkSPORT News.
The parents of a man who wrestled the gun from one of the Bondi Beach gunmen have hailed him a hero, and Hollywood is mourning director Rob Reiner after he and his wife were found dead at their home. There's more from the news team in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Today it's raining tyres in our centres, including top-notch brands like Pirelli. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Parts of South Wales under an amber warning for rain. Western areas covered by a less severe yellow alert. Persistent rain across northern England as well today. Southeast England mostly dry. Drier and fresher across Scotland.
Well, it was a great weekend if you were a Sunderland fan, not so if you're a Newcastle fan, because Sunderland did it in that fantastic Weir Tyne derby. I watched it all and Sunderland came out on top. Are they going to be the story of the North East this season? We'll look at that very shortly in the company of Simon and, of course, Martin O'Neill, who's with us today. Also going to look at what was Enzo Maresca actually saying in the build-up to his next game. We'll study that very closely. But in the meantime, with Martin, we're going to round off everything with Celtic. Martin's been back up in Glasgow at Celtic. 8 games in interim charge, 7 wins, 1 defeat, and it's a very difficult, awkward baptism of fire for the new man, Wilfried Nancy. Played 3, lost 3, including yesterday's cup final against St Mirren at Hampden. The League Cup won by St Mirren, and all credit to them for doing just that. But it wasn't just on the field that Martin was trying to get things right, and did. By and large, of course. Off the field, there is unrest at Celtic at the moment. Amidst board unrest, protests all season, Celtic fans raised another banner in yesterday's cup final towards the board, reading, "End the pantomime, lift the band." The message, a reference to the bands handed out to members of the club's ultras group, the Green Brigade. All is not well with some of the Celtic hardcore, and that was extremely visible in the recent AGM. An AGM attended by Martin O'Neill, but when the address came from son of Dermot Desmond, the majority shareholder Ross Desmond, then there were a few raised eyebrows.
Our board, led by Peter, and our executive, led by Michael, are dedicated Celtic people. These are people with families. They love the club every bit as much as anyone here, and when we're not performing, they suffer just as much as anyone. They do an outstanding job for this club, and we are very lucky to have them. The incident a few weeks ago at the Falkirk match was symptomatic of wider behaviour that cannot be ignored. These people are bullies, and they tried to hijack the good name of Celtic. We cannot allow them to define who we are.
Many Celtic fans who attended that, Martin, not at all happy with what they saw, what they heard. Was it an awkward day for you?
Well, Yeah, I came in as the interim manager and stepped into this. It's been going on for some time now at the moment, but I think I think that the disappointment really was this: the AGM is there for people to ask questions in a proper fashion, and I think that was the point that was really missed eventually, because what was happening is that there was interruptions each particular time. That's fine if it was a group of people who are unhappy with the way that Celtic has been run at this minute, fine. But I think there were a lot of people there that day who had travelled distances to want to find out what the board were how they were going to answer. So if you were going to get some questions answered, at least have it in an orderly manner. And I think that was the disappointment of the day. There was interruptions, and eventually the board decided to abandon proceedings. And I think, as I said, it became a massive disappointment to people who had arrived there. Some people had come from London, taking the day off, to come up there and ask the questions that they were hoping that they would get answers to.
I mean, seeing what you saw and gauging the temperature of that meeting, and being back involved at the football club as you were, do you have any more sympathy for Brendan Rodgers?
Do you know, I think there's a sadness attached to it about the football club at this moment, because there is disharmony. There's no question about it, and you've got to try and get that together. Now, I mean, I'm a person. I don't think I would have the ability to pull anything like that together. But somewhere along the way, that there is, for Celtic to go on, they just need harmony again. And during the time that I was the manager, way back 20 odd years ago, whatever it was, I would have had discussions with board members. I know, and I'm a manager. I want to sign Messi and Pele and Eusebio all at the same time. So, and some things, you know, it's not going to happen. And I've come out of board meetings completely disappointed about, that didn't go so well. But I'm not so sure that I stuck it into the public domain all the time. And I think that you can have discussions with boards. But I also, and I don't want to admit this, but I also knew the parameters in which I was working with as well too. So there's certain things that you know. And I think that Celtic disunited are not the Celtic that people should be aware of.
But Mark,
as Frank just mentioned there about 10 minutes ago.
But do you think the Celtic board has let down many Celtic fans at this time?
What do you mean let them down? Let Celtic fans down? I don't know about that. What I do know is this: Celtic have last season was a terrific year in terms of European football. Right, they got into the Champions League and they do very, very well in their final game against final tie against Bayern. So Celtic fans are looking for something similar. But the landscape, as Simon would say, in Scotland has changed. You're not in the same league. You cannot compete. You're not competing anymore. You have to be very, very, very clever in the transfer market now to buy players here. I think that Celtic will still be strong with, but still have not got the ability to buy a player at £30 million.
Look, I mean, far be it from me to tell someone as successful as Dermot Desmond how to run a business and to be involved in occupying space in the public domain. I was emphatically supportive of him filling Brendan Rodgers in because Brendan deserved it. Brendan created some of this disharmony. The team that may well have needed more support still had enough about them, or should have had enough on the field to beat the team that knocked them out of the Champions League situations that they shouldn't have been knocked out in. You know,
Kairat.
Yeah, come on, let's get it right.
Yeah.
Irrespective of the background noise that Celtic don't buy until they've qualified, right? All that sort of stuff. I felt it was unwise to have lectured the group in that AGM the way that they did. I know that there's probably some very angry people sitting in the boardroom as well about the manner in which certain people are operating around certain board members and certain activities. But I felt, not that piece there, because I didn't think that was unreasonable, what he said there, Dermot Desmond's son. I listened to the whole thing, and it was a bit condescending. It was a little bit finger-wagging, and I don't think you can do that very often. I don't think you can do it in a protracted way, which appeared to be the case. It appeared to be an unwise settling of scores, which is, we're not having this, we're not having that, we're not having the other. And whilst I understand the motivation, the human motivation for wanting to do it, the outcome was further disruption. A room that became a melee, I suspect, of bedlam, with dissenting voices, and a meeting brought to the end without satisfactory outcomes for people that have come into a room that want to understand what's going on with their football club, that are, I suspect, shareholders as well.
Yeah. Martin, in the little time we have left before we hit this break, and I mean this, and I really want you to be honest with me, has it whetted your appetite if another job offer was to come along?
I would have to say absolutely, because I've never lost the appetite for the game. I've certainly not lost enthusiasm, and I've got energy to burn. And I also know that in terms of coaches, where it was like, but for me, the scenario up at Celtic was almost perfect in the sense that an older one with younger coaches at my availability and a response from the players.
Martin O'Neill back with us and live with us this morning all the way through until 1 o'clock. In the meantime, when we come back, what was Enzo Maresca driving at? We'll look at that next. Well, the build-up to Christmas is always like this. Busy in the football front. Ahead of tomorrow's Carabao Cup quarter-final at Cardiff, Enzo Maresca will be speaking in about an hour from now, and we'll see if he says anything different to what he said post-match at the weekend. That game, incidentally, between Cardiff and Chelsea in the Carabao Cup is live on talkSPORT. Because after 4 games without win, Chelsea got back on track with a 2-0 win at home to Everton. But then post-match, and this is where I'm going with this, after being asked about the performance of Malo Gusto, Maresca decided to impart his own message.
Since I joined the club, the last 48 hours has been the worst 48 hours since I joined the club, because many people didn't support us.
What do you mean in terms of the not people supporting you in the last 48 hours?
Worst 48 hours since I joined the club, because people didn't support me and the team.
People in terms?
In general.
Peter? Do you mean fans or?
I love the fans, and we are very happy with the fans.
Okay, so the worst 48 hours since I joined the club because people didn't support me and the team. Who's he driving at there, Samuel? What's he driving at?
Well, I don't suppose he's driving it at the players. And I don't suspect he's driving at the fans, because he's told you that he's not. So he's either talking about the media, which he isn't, or he's talking about the people that he's working for. Now, there is an element of people that run football clubs are commercially different people than people that manage them. So there's an emotional immaturity sometimes about football managers. So you bake it into your thinking that they'll go into press conferences and they'll say things that are emotionally charged. It's an emotional game. You expect everybody else to be charged with emotions. You can't exclude managers from it. It's an unwise move. Because if to some extent he's digging at certain people that may well have been telling him to do certain things, it may well be diverging from the agenda they started with or converging. There's a school of thought which I'm led to understand or believe that there are differing agendas about what this team should be capable of doing and who they should be capable of playing and what the outcomes from the football club is in terms of players being developed to be perhaps resold or advanced rather than necessarily team winning trophies. If he's been caught in a cleft position of differing agendas, which is, ultimately you've got to win trophies. I think he's got a fair point in some of the points that he makes about if you want to win things, you've got to give me experienced players alongside young players. If he's got these views, the views that he's aired there, he's not well served in putting them in the public domain. I don't think there's a bigger job for Enzo Maresca than Chelsea. I think he's in one of the biggest clubs in world football with one of the biggest budgets behind him. I think he was quite fortunate to have got it. He's doing a decent job, and there's not a great deal of expectation upon Chelsea besides the historic expectation that's been built up over the Abramovich era, which is you win, and if you get managers get fired left, right, centre, and you win all the time. But in the last 3 years, the media spent all its time dumping all over the ridiculousness of Todd Bowley and Egbali's spend pattern, and the expectation of Chelsea to win the league isn't really there. So there's not that kind of expectation. But it's a fool's errand to me. And it will be. I remember speaking to Daniel about Conte.
Daniel
Levy about Conte and him having an outburst after the Burnley game. And the sentiment was, well, he's a temperamental Italian. This is what happens. These things happen. Because it's baked into an owner's thinking that these guys will say certain things. If it gets too much, they'll get a tap on the shoulder and get told, come on, pack it in. That's a bit silly. But they'll accept certain things. But it doesn't end well if you're directing that. The people that he's directing that at will know specifically and explicitly who they are. If it's a sporting director, maybe they'll blow steam off. If it's an owner that's been saying certain things to him, rotate the squad, or whatever it is that's being said, or ultimately we expect this from you, or that from you, or the other from you, then that won't end well. You cannot rebuke and admonish your owners and people that you work for in the public domain. You can go to them in person and you can have an up and down with somebody. You can go to your owner or your chief executive or your sporting director and you can have a blunt exchange of views between a manager and an owner or a CEO or a sporting director. You cannot take that in the public domain because there's going to be one outcome.
But let's say, Martin, let's just say, for talking sake, this is an owner, one of the owners who's maybe telling Maresca what he wants to see on the field of play, suggesting what Enzo should maybe provide him with seeing on the field of play. You know where I'm going with this. Are you an emboldened manager or a stupid one engaging the media to make a point?
I agree with Simon, 98% of what he says, because you cannot take this in. For instance, just go back a few weeks ago before I got the job at Celtic. So Brendan talking about the players being what card did he use? He used the analogy about
the Ferrari or the
Ferrari and things like this here.
Honda Civic.
The Honda Civic, and that's absolutely right. And you know that first of all, that's going to really anger the board for a start, and it's not going to help you with players either. Now, Maresca didn't mention this about the players, but he very obviously, as Simon points out, he has mentioned, and we realise this is the board in total or a member or two of the board. Now, right, if the board are telling him who to play, that's a different issue. But I don't think he should be publicly. He should be admonishing someone for saying, you employed me as the manager. This is my job. So I don't want to lose my job on players that you're asking me to pick at the end of it all. I'll go with that. And there have been owners who have told managers who to play. That's the point.
And Simon, if that was the case, that would be unacceptable to Maresca, to be fair to him, wouldn't it?
Okay, let's start the conversation where the conversation started 18 months ago. If the ownership model brings him in and says, this is how we operate, he takes a job on that basis, or he doesn't take it on that basis. If he's got a clear understanding, if there's a complete and utter divergence from what was said when the job was given to him, if there is indeed a conversation between board members about wanting to see players do certain things or rotation, if that was verbalised and vocalised to the manager at the beginning of his tenure, then nothing's changed really, has it? So what's the manager complaining about? He took a job under those conditions. If he didn't want the job under those conditions, he didn't have to take it. Now, if it's because he's become emboldened because he's won a World Club Championship, I've got no problem. Most owners have no problem with a manager flexing. A good manager should flex. He should flex his muscles when he gets an opportunity to do it. A sensible manager, a wise manager, doesn't do it in the public domain. The one thing I'll give Brendan Rodgers currency for is he resigned. He resigned. He walked away from the situation with, not for me. Not what I think, not what I want, whether it was more Machiavellian than that. If you don't like something, football managers won't resign. They'll wait for you to fire them so you have to pay them, or they'll create an outcome where you have to deal with the situation. Now, if he's doing that, I don't understand what his objective is. I don't personally think Maresca gets a bigger job in world football. I think he's got a wonderful job at a football club that's as big as most football clubs in Europe, going through a period of adjusting to a new ownership. But where does Maresca go? He was lucky to get it in the first place.
Is this you saying one of your favourite phrases, Enzo, pack it in?
Well, yeah. In real terms, what are you going to achieve? He has a point. If he's been told something and something else is different, then by all means go knocking on someone's door and start throwing some glasses around if you feel that's necessity, and have a conversation, because people are men. They can stand up to resilient conversations, especially commercial animals that accept it and actually will expect their managers to have some balls about them. But you don't drag it in the public domain. That's a whole different set of rules.
As I said, they're going to play Cardiff in the Carabao Cup, and sometime in the next hour, right? Yep, sometime in the next half hour, we should hear from Enzo Maresca, and then we'll maybe find out more about what he was driving at. Maybe 11:30.
Josh Tongue's recalled for the third Ashes test as Gus Atkinson's rested. That's the only England change for this must-win game. With careers on the line, Vice-Captain Harry Brooks says the players have had a lovely time off in Noosa.
It was probably came at the right time when we're 2-0 down. I know most people won't think that, but to get away from the game and try and refresh as much as possible after a tough start to the series, hopefully that can help us leading into this game.
That's not gone down well on talkSPORT Breakfast, where the boys are thinking of the long-suffering Barmy Army.
At what point did Harry think they'd be delighted to hear that he's had a couple of belting days?
Yeah. Yes.
More on talkSPORT's cricket YouTube. Alan Pardew says Thomas Frank must be given time to turn things around. Frank's described Spurs as not a quick fix. They've only had one win in their last 7 games. Meanwhile, Ruben Amorim accepts criticism from Man United's class of '92 as fair.
The problem is that me as a manager, I'm not doing good enough. And that is a fact also, and I can accept that. So that is the only problem.
Paul Scholes said Amorim's not the right man and the unfancied Kobbie Mainoo should leave. Man United v Bournemouth is live on talkSPORT tonight from 7 p.m. And Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes is out for the season after tearing his ACL. The Chiefs have failed to make the NFL playoffs for the first time in 11 seasons. More on the talkSPORT USA YouTube.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
And alongside Simon, myself and Martin O'Neill, we're joined by Matt Gibson from BetMGM. We're going to look at some of the major events and the odds round and about them. Matt, good morning to you. So tell us about the top half of the Premier League this morning, and specifically Arsenal and Manchester City as you guys see it.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. I watched the Arsenal game on Saturday night, and I know they got the win, but I thought they were pretty average against a struggling Wolves side. A last-minute winner, which, you know, sign of champions or sign of someone who's a team who's struggling over the Christmas period. You decide. We've still got them as 3-5 odds on to win the title. But what about Manchester City? They are quickening at an alarming pace. 3-0, a great win away from home against Palace, into 37-20 to win the title. They've got the top goal scorer and the top assister in the league in Haaland and Ryan Cherki. Arsenal don't have any player in the top 10 goals or assists. Means they're sharing it out a little bit more, but I would certainly want a couple of my players in towards the top end of that leaderboard. And then best of the rest, Aston Villa, very good to come from behind at West Ham. Morgan Rodgers, again, another player who's hitting his straps, 5 goals, 3 assists from midfield so far this season. They are 6-4 for top 4, gents, which I think is mental value. I can't remember what pundit it was yesterday on Sky, fellas, said outside of Pep Guardiola, Unai Emery is the best manager in the league, and I find it hard to disagree.
What about Unai Emery, Martin? Are you standing back and applauding what you see?
Yeah, very much so. I've been saying it for ages and ages now. He's a top quality manager.
Do you see Villa in the title race, Martin? I mean, when the prizes are given out, do you think they'll be around it?
Well, my own view is that whoever finishes in front of Arsenal will win will win it. But I think the run that they're on now is really terrific. He's getting the best out of some very, very, very good players. And why shouldn't they be in the title race at this stage of the season?
He's someone that impresses you, Simon. I know that, Emery.
Oh, very
and the
much.
Longer it goes on.
Yeah, but he always has done. I think it was an outlier perspective at Arsenal. He wasn't given much of an opportunity following Arsene Wenger. But the fact is that you listen to the way players talk about him, and you can take something that players say sometimes with a pinch of salt. But the way that Morgan Rodgers was talking about his manager and the winning mentality that he demands, he went straight into because he's got one more than all of us. That's not a bad thing for a player to be saying about his manager. He's a good manager. The big thing about Villa that I thought was going to let them down was goals. They'd scored 16 goals in 13 games, and all of a sudden, bang, they've started scoring goals. and they're scoring quite a few of them now.
Yeah.
So they give themselves a chance. They'll be in a race, but they ain't going to win it. So
they're not going to win it.
No, I don't think so.
You seem sure about that.
I think it's Arsenal's time. I think it's Arteta's time. I think the fact is, if you're playing Arsenal now, you've got them at the best time. If you can't get points against Arsenal now with a centre-half pairing being out and the challenges that they've got in that respect, then you're not going to get points against them. Once they get themselves back into the groove with the centre-half pairing, everything together, Arsenal will regain their poise.
Yeah, but is there pressure on the Villa players' shoulders at the moment, Martin? This is an unusual set of circumstances for them. Seize it, grab it, embrace it.
Yeah, I'm with Simon in this viewpoint, and scoring so late on against Wolves as well too, when you haven't probably played all that well. Big signs, really, big signs. You can play well the following week, just win the game, and they've done that.
What about the bottom half of the Premier League, Matt? And your beloved Leeds United reside in that territory.
Yeah, it's fairly nervous. Just on Villa again, lads. They are 7-2 favourites for the Europa League as well. So there'll be the big price to win the title. 6-4 for top four, I think, is a good bet. But they are right in it for the Europa League as well. So let's not forget they're banging the mix for a few competitions this season. Towards the bottom end, good to see Burnley come out on the wrong side of 5 goals to keep them down there. Although I think I said it last week, a 0-0 draw would have been perfect to keep Fulham looking over the shoulder as well, but it wasn't to be. Nottingham Forest were very convincing against Spurs. Thought Spurs look fairly average on the road, and Forest are really picking up now. I think they've won 4 or 6 in their last league, in 4 of their last 6 in the league, and they're a big price, 11-2 to go down. And then Calvert-Lewin, I certainly had my question marks about him when he signed, but 4 in 4 and important goals in that, goals equaling points, which is pretty decent. I think that was doing this every Monday, talking with you boys. I think that was all that was missing from his game, wasn't it? It was the goals and meaningful goals at that. And I think a point away at Brentford, having seen West Ham lose and Burnley lose and all of that, I think a point at Brentford is not a bad return.
Where are we going with this, do you think, Simon? Burnley looking likely to join Wolves in being cut adrift?
Maybe. I think it's important for Leeds as well, in terms of, the fact Dominic Calvert-Lewin has put down his slingbacks and dropped his handbag and started playing like a centre forward.
He's never forgotten that.
But I think he's a good player. He'll get goals.
Did it once?
Once was more than enough for anybody. Bob Latchford was spinning in the air when he saw it. I think Leeds are in good nick, and I think Calvert-Lewin is a good player. And earlier on in the season, he'd have missed that goal. He'd have missed that header. And the fact he didn't tells you where he's at. Look, I'm surprised. I thought what Scott Parker achieved last year was nothing sort of remarkable with Burnley in terms of their defensive record. They just shut up shop and people couldn't score against them. And I thought that might stand them in good stead in the Premier League, that they would continue to be difficult to score against. The problem is always going to be whether they're going to get enough goals. But if you don't concede goals, it gives you a chance to get points out of a game, as he'll tell you. But they aren't. They're conceding goals for fun now. Now, I don't know what that tells you about Scott Parker's opportunity. I wouldn't be canvassing him being out of the job, because unless you're going to wheel somebody out of the ether that's going to do better with what they've got, what is the point of changing Scott Parker? He knows the players.
Yeah.
They are competitive in games, but they're shipping goals. I was talking to one of the Fulham players yesterday. It was a horrible game for them to be in, and they had to win that game, Fulham themselves. And they had to go up to Burnley to get a result, and they nicked it 3-2 ultimately in the end game. But yeah, I think Wolves. Wolves are gone. Cheerio. Sorry about that. Terrible time for you.
Who's in there, Martin? Are we shaping it to be any one from 4? Let's say Burnley are going to head down with Wolves. Are we looking at Brentford, Leeds, Forest and West Ham in the battle to avoid going down?
Well, by the very nature of their positions in the league at this stage, then you would have to look at that there. I always thought that Nottingham Forest would be far too strong anyway. They had a great run last year, and they've got a manager in charge now at this minute who will pull them out of trouble with ease, I think. And it's easy for me to say sitting here in this table, different when you're managing, but that's my view. I think that Burnley, yeah, exactly as Simon said, I thought that they could stay up really this particular season, but when you get on a run of poor results, it's very hard to find that where the next point or two is coming from. Leeds United that's a really great equaliser down there against Brentford as well too. And you feel as if the Leeds crowd can almost keep you afloat as much as anything else. But it's difficult.
Does it matter how you're relegated, Martin? Simon, you said last week, yeah, it does. It matters. Regards Wolves, it matters how you're
Context
relegated.
I was saying, in the context of a conversation, so you get the nuance of it.
Okay.
If Wolves don't win a game all season, is that a good way to get relegated? And I said, no. If you're going to get relegated, no good way to get relegated. Relegated is a bad thing. But if you go down fighting, it gives you a bit more of a spirit to build from the following season. If you go down having a thoroughly good kicking and completely demoralise the entire football club, that can't be a good position to build from the following season.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Is it not a case of you're relegated, so you're relegated?
No, initially I would have thought you're relegated. That's true. But if you are talking about what might happen for the following season, the sort of summer that you're going to have, But is there is there a nice way to get relegated?
If I'm Wolves, if I'm the Wolves owners now, I'm looking at this going, I know I'm relegated.
Yeah.
I'm mad about all that crap in the media about you can still pull it round. We're gone.
Yeah.
So I'm now looking at it going, what do I do? Because I'm looking 18 months forward. My job is now I've got to get this team back out of the Championship, back into the Premier League. So the culture of how this team performs is important to me, irrespective of whether we're getting relegated now.
Does that help your manager, though? How does he motivate a dressing room when you've decided that we're already gone?
No. As long as the manager hasn't decided that or hasn't imparted that message to the players, and I think the Wolves will still feel as if they've still got a chance. But you have to win games. You have to win games now, and but
someone has to be a grown up in the room and accept the fact that there's going to be some financial plannings in place. And if you've got 2 points after 16 games, with due respect to what you might want the team to do, which is huff and puff as much as best it can, and you're not going to walk into the dressing room and say to the players, "Oh yeah, lads, I'm the owner. I've accepted we're getting relegated." No one's going to do that. But what you're doing is in your own mind going, "I'm not going to be disappointed by my outcome because I know what's coming. I'm going to prepare for the next opportunity, which is we're going to get promoted from the Championship at the first opportunity." So that's why it's important to install in the manager. Fight until the last.
Well, I mean, they scored 3 goals at the Emirates. Just that 2 of those were in the wrong end.
That doesn't help.
You know where I'm going with that. Matt, I could hear you sniggering, and thanks for that, because these two just look stony-faced at me. 8 o'clock tonight, Manchester United, Bournemouth, exclusively live on talkSPORT. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to jump in a minute ago when the boys were in full flight, but we've basically got it as a 2-horse race for the third relegation spot between Leeds and West Ham. West Ham are 9-10 to go down, Leeds 2-1. Big jump in the odds to Forest at 11-2. Interestingly, Jim, we go to the London Stadium, the last game of the season, so hopefully there's nothing riding on that that's too sinister for us. In terms of tonight, Bournemouth, their form has kind of gone off a cliff. Winless in the last 6, drawn 2, lost 4. They get a Man United who had a pretty decent Monday night out last week. Man United favourites to win the game. It's interesting, this, isn't it, fellas? I remember coming on here 2-3 weeks ago. Chelsea were mounting a title charge, and Man United were somewhere around the 10th, 11th mark. Man United can go level on points with them tonight. Just shows how much can happen in a few weeks, and how the narrative can change. Again, lads, I'll always look for a little bit of value here. Man United are big favourites to win the game, but Fernandes and Mbeumo, who were superb against Wolves on Monday night, I think they might be in and around the goal. So United to win, and Bruno and Mbeumo to be on the score sheet is around about 9-1. But bookies fully expecting Man United to get back up there in 5th, or I think they go joint 5th, don't they? Level on points with Chelsea this evening.
What about my 2 learned friends? Who do you take tonight? Martin, Manchester United, Bournemouth?
Who's at home?
Manchester United.
Yeah, well, Bournemouth in a downward spiral at the moment. I suppose Manchester United might be, probably just make it.
Simon? They smashed them last year, didn't they? Bournemouth smashed them last year.
Beat them 3-0. Beat them 3-0 at Old Trafford last year.
This is a great manager. I really like this manager. I'm surprised they're in a bit of a funk. They'll come out of it again because he's too good a manager.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Matt, thank you very much indeed for everything. That was a look at the latest odds. Thanks to BetMGM. Visit betmgm.co.uk. Download the app. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus. GambleAware.org.
It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin O'Neill. We're live on talkSPORT, courtesy of Selco. It's where the trade goes. If you've just joined us, Brendan Rodgers on his way to Saudi Arabia as we speak. He's taking over at the Aramco-owned Al Qadsiya, who are fifth in the Saudi Premier League. Chief Executive is one James Bisgrove, who was formerly at Rangers in Glasgow, and of course would have met Brendan, no doubt, in more than a few occasions. So Brendan is going to be joining forces with Bisgrove out there at Al Qadsiya, and we will wait to see how that goes. We are watching with interest to see how Sunderland's season is going, and it's going spectacularly well. It was the Weirtime derby at the weekend. It was at 1 goal. Voltamata scored it in the wrong end, and that gave the win to Sunderland. The result moves Sunderland up to 7th, 4 points clear of their rivals Newcastle, who sit 12th. And this man, who has made us all sit up and watch what he's doing, Regis Lebris, was thrilled.
We showed our progress, and I think it's not only me, it's not only one player, it's about a collective project, teamwork, and I think it's one of the main strengths of this club. We are working together. The players are showing on the pitch that these connections are probably the main strength of the squad. Is it in possession or out of possession? And I think it's already the case. It's also the case for the club and for the different staffs.
Martin, you've been there. You know what it's like to be in charge of that football club. Lebris can do no wrong at the moment, can he?
No, it's been splendid for him. Absolutely splendid. And I felt at the end of last season when they got promoted, I thought the side that got promoted would not be strong enough to survive in the Premier League. So they definitely needed new players coming in. But then you get a host of players come in, but you still have to manage them. You have to manage them. You've got to get them right. Luckily, you got a bit of a pre-season with that there, and that's half decent news. But overall, I don't think anybody expected the improvement in the club. And so the manager's been fantastic.
And you know what it's like to manage in a derby. Of course, I think immediately of you at Celtic Rangers. The Weirtime derby, what's it like?
Well, I've done 2 of those games. We went to in my short period of time at Sunderland. We went to St James's. We played really, really well, and we drew. I think they got a penalty kick at about 6 or 7 minutes to go, but we should have won that game. A couple of back into the next season, early on in the season, and we drew again, but Newcastle were by far the better side that time. So it was a reverse in terms of form as much as anything else. But they are big news. They are great fixtures, and me being a Sunderland fan for years and years and years, that was a delightful result yesterday.
Did you have a little tete-a-tete with Alan Pardew?
I'm afraid I did, yes. That I'll add Alan to another list of managers that I've had a tete-a-tete with. But this time, and I'm going to say this here, and Alan sometimes comes on programmes here, it was totally and utterly his fault. He was just really, really irritating me.
Oh, was he?
Oh, God.
What did he do?
Big time. What did he do? Well, it doesn't take much to irritate me, so I suppose he probably wasn't doing anything, but I'm blaming him completely on this one. Yeah, he was just jumping around and he was irritating me, I must admit.
I took it in yesterday, Sam. I watched the thing. It was a game that lacked quality, but when it comes to desire and will, was there really only one team that seemed likely that they really wanted to win it?
I'm not sure that's right. I mean, I think ultimately Sunderland are in such a good vein of thinking right now that every box that you can imagine for a Sunderland fan is being ticked. They go up, they're not whimpering in the Premier League, they're there.
No.
They're staying in the Premier League next season, so the first box has been ticked. Everyone knows they're not going to get relegated.
But this was a tepid Newcastle.
Next box, they play Newcastle at home, and they beat Newcastle at home. So for Sunderland fans, these moments are great and wonderful moments and well-deserved, because the owner, who's a younger owner that I felt at times wouldn't have the experience to make certain decisions. You got to look at the decisions and the voices that he's listening to that's brought this manager through the door. You look at it now and say, how do you look at Sunderland in comparison with Newcastle? Newcastle are a Champions League side that have got £300 or £400 million of a turnover. Sunderland are doing what lots of promoted clubs have done previously, which is having a wonderful first season. We've seen it happen with Sheffield United in previous times. We've seen it happen with Swansea all those years ago. Wonderful time. Enjoy it. It's a great set of achievements. You're staying in the Premier League next season. The difficulty is when you draw comparisons, because it's a natural thing to do, because that's what we do, is draw a comparison between the two clubs. Newcastle are by far and away advanced beyond Sunderland. They're a Champions League side. They've got 150 to 200 million pounds of a turnover, greater than Sunderland. So that means that Newcastle's project is several years ahead of Sunderland. Individual games, fantastic. Give Sunderland all the plaudits for the individual games. Give Sunderland all the plaudits for the way they've approached this season, because I've got nothing but respect and admiration for them.
But Simon, is there a danger that one club, Newcastle's hit their ceiling? How in Newcastle, they will go no further, while the other has plenty more room to climb?
Well, yeah, but again, it's the same argument that you're advancing. How does Sunderland bridge the gap between Newcastle in perpetuity, consistently, rather than an individual game in an individual season? And how do Newcastle get into the top six repeatedly? How do Newcastle win the league, given the ownership model they've got? Well, the answer is probably they can't, because they've got £350 million of a turnover, and Manchester City have got 700, and so have Arsenal, and so have Liverpool, and so have other teams that are in the top six that have been established because of the nature of the PSR rules. So how does Sunderland compete with Newcastle in the longer term?
Yeah.
Well, they can't.
Yeah. I wonder if Newcastle seemed to forget it was a derby. Eddie wasn't happy.
Criticism comes with every defeat, but of course with this one I think it will be louder and stronger, just because of the game and the importance of the game, and we fully acknowledge that, and that's why it hurts so much. So disappointed for our supporters, and sorry for the performance, really, in the sense of the lack of goalmouth action, the lack of clinical attacking, which we've tried to pride ourselves on over recent seasons. It wasn't there today, and for that we're sorry. Certainly wasn't a lack of effort from the lads, but today wasn't our day.
But Martin, come the end of the season, do you think that Sunderland will be the story of the North East?
Well, it is the story of the North East, and regardless of what happens, as Simon said, that they've already accumulated enough points. Well, they haven't, but you know that they're going to stay up. And that is an achievement in itself, first time off. So this is a big result for them yesterday. And I think regardless of what happens, that they have to fall off a cliff now for them not to be the story.
A lot has changed in the time since you were there, hasn't it? I mean, the way Sunderland have approached this is to be admired. And I wonder where Newcastle are going when you hear Anthony Gordon on Instagram totally underperformed today in a game that would have meant so much to everyone. We can only apologise, reset and try to make it right on Wednesday. That seems almost too easy for top players to do and say now.
Well, Eddie Howe just made the point. They know the importance of the game. This was a big match. Obviously a big game for Sunderland, because I went to... I was up north about 2 months ago in not too far from Durham, really, and Sunderland fans were looking forward to this game like you wouldn't believe. They had it already when the fixture list came out, this was the game that they were looking at. So it really did mean an awful lot to Sunderland. I'm not saying it didn't to Newcastle supporters, but sometimes when you're involved, you've got Champions League matches, you're playing in games like this here, then you sometimes do forget how important this game is to the fans. You do, as a player, you might think, just even if it's only a temporary thought in your head, you don't, and it's the realisation after you've got beaten in the game and in the manner in which you got beaten, you realise, wait a minute, this is it.
When you were in charge of Sunderland, when you looked at that fixture, you thought, well, there's one I can't lose.
Oh, very much so. Absolutely, this is it. You know, and that's why. Well, it's not why anything, but at the end, it's exactly what you said.
And that's why. It's not why anyway. Martin, it's great having you on board. So much so it's 12 noon.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range, supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
We do headlines at 12:02. I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. Martin O'Neill's urging patience with his successor at Celtic, who's lost 3 on the spin. Wilfred Nancy should do what Martin did and lean on his assistants.
I got great help from a coaching staff, and I felt, as I said earlier, you know, young men involved in the game who have been involved heavily in the game. Sean Maloney's been a manager at his own stage.
Martin's told White and Jordan his handover with Nancy only lasted 15 minutes.
If the board had said, listen, you know, we still have a problem with visas and things like this here, I'd happily have stayed on.
Meanwhile, we understand Brendan Rodgers has gone to Saudi Arabia to finalise taking over at Al Qadsiya. It's one of the clubs keen on signing Mo Salah. There's more on this story at talksport.com. Now, a court's heard the man who drove into crowds at Liverpool's Premier League victory parade could have stopped at any time. Paul Doyle's sentencing is expected to last 2 days at Liverpool Crown Court. Former Spurs defender Ramon Vega has called on Thomas Frank to resign.
It's a big club in terms of England. You need instant success. You don't have time 3 years, 4 years.
Vega says Tottenham should hire Ferencvaros's manager Robbie Keane. Frank expects to get time to turn things around following Spurs' 6th defeat of the season away at Forest. Meanwhile, Ruben Amorim has called criticism from Paul Scholes fair because Man United are not winning enough games. They host Bournemouth live on talkSPORT tonight. And Harry Brook has said England players have had a belting time off in Noosa despite going 2-0 down in the Ashes. Ahead of the third test, Shoaib Bashir misses out again. The only change, Josh Tongue comes in for Gus Atkinson. More on talkSPORT's Cricket YouTube.
talkSPORT News.
Thousands of people have attended a vigil on Sydney's Bondi Beach following yesterday's anti-Semitic terror attack, and Hollywood director Rob Reiner has been found dead at his home in LA. More from the news team in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. For a limited time only, get 15% off a set of 4 selected premium tyres. Don't miss out and book today at quickfit.com and drive away happy every time. Conditions apply.
Parts of South Wales are under an amber warning for rain. Western areas covered by less severe yellow alert. Persistent rain across northern England as well as southeast England's mostly dry. Drier and fresher across Scotland.
Good afternoon, everybody. 5 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, and Celtic legend, former interim manager Martin O'Neill is alongside us. Martin proving to be a very, very popular guest on this show this morning. Martin, you're always welcome. I'm delighted you're back with us.
Thank you.
A lot to get through in the final hour. And it came to light over the weekend. In fact, Ring Magazine reported that the fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua has been signed. It's done, and it will take place in 2026. Although the exact date and venue have yet to be confirmed, it's understood discussions are taking place for the heavyweight bout to headline in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in September. What about Fury's man, promoter Frank Warren? This was his reaction over the weekend.
It's a massive fight. It's a fight that it's taken a long time to get together, and hopefully it's going to be the case, and people are going to get what they wish next year, which is these two guys in the ring facing each other up. It's been a rivalry, modern day rivalry in British and probably world boxing. As I say, it'd be great if it did on.
So Anthony Joshua against Tyson Fury in 2026. Is it on, or have we been here before? Top boxing commentator Adam Smith joins us live. Adam, good afternoon to you. Is it on then, mate?
Good afternoon, Jim, Simon and Martin. Is it on? Well, that's a question that we've been asking for some years. I think we're nearer now than probably we ever have been, thanks to His Excellency and the way that the whole boxing world has changed in the last 2 or 3 years. Fury, AJ Fury is a fight that obviously has been talked about for a long time. It has to happen. I believe it will happen in 2026, but then I thought it might happen in 2025. And there have been various times through my career where we've been very, very close to doing the fight. I remember one time, maybe 3-4 years ago, talking to AJ and Tyson on the phone at the same time, both of them telling me to please try and get everybody together and make this fight. So the fighters have wanted it for a long time, and I think finally the fans will get it in 2026.
Is this a fight that you are welcoming, Simon?
It's a fight that a lot of people want to see. I mean, Anthony Joshua has made no bones about wanting to fight Tyson Fury. The only equation that needed to be squared is that we were again told for the 75th time that Tyson Fury had retired. I would suspect it's going to happen. The tragedy, of course, because of the scale of the finances absolutely required for these two fighters to get into the ring, is going to mean that it gets fought in Riyadh. So we're going to get two British fighters that are generationally at the very front of what's happened in British boxing for the last 10 years, at the very front of the heavyweight division for the last 10 years, probably catapulted the heavyweight division into a different stratosphere after the bore fest that the Klitschko's had for years dominating the division, are going to fight in the Middle East.
Is that a real shame as far as you're concerned as well, Adam?
I think we all would like to see the fight, say, at Wembley Stadium. I heard they may even build something in Hyde Park. I think, obviously, the British fight fans would love it here, and I think it is a fight that should be staged in Britain at some point. Now, could they have one in Riyadh and a rematch here, or the other way around? I'm not sure. But look, ultimately, if we want this fight to happen, it's got to make financial sense, and it's got to be made by Turki Al-Sheikh. And if it happens in Riyadh, it happens in Riyadh. It's better happening than not happening. Would I prefer to see it happen at Wembley Stadium, like we saw the Riyadh season show with AJ and Dubois last year, 96,000? Of course. Could they get a stadium built, a temporary one like they do in the Middle East that maybe could sit 120, 150,000? I think a lot of people would come and watch it if it's in London. However, if it is in Riyadh, it is in Riyadh. The most important thing is that the fight happens. You know, we took so long to make Mayweather and Pacquiao the world of boxing, and we could have had 3 by the time that was made. So let's get this one done. Tyson, I was with on Thursday night in London. He keeps saying he's retired, he's done with boxing. He will be back next year. We know he'll be back, and we'll know he'll be back to fight Joshua.
Adam, I mean, Simon as well. I'm looking at some of the reaction to this while you're speaking, Adam, this lunchtime. John Webster, Joshua versus Fury is 5 years too late, in my opinion. September 2026 gives Fury chances to retire a further 2 or 3 times between now and then. There's another one, 2 guys way past the sell-by date. Yes, people will watch it, but it's going to be a damp squib in the library of Saudi Arabia. What do you make of that, Adam?
Well, I think it's pretty tough to say damp squib in the library of Saudi Arabia, seeing as before Turki Al-Sheikh came on the scene, Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn weren't even talking. So I think what he's done over the last 3 years is given some of the best against the best all around the globe, whether it's in Saudi, whether it's in Britain, whether it's in America. So think back, okay? However, fights do take time to make. Various trainers, managers, the fighters themselves, promoters, broadcasters. There's a huge amount that has to go in to make a fight happen. As I said, we were very close to making Joshua and Fury many times over the years when I was at Sky. However, it's a new door now. It's a new horizon with what Saudi have done. And I think sometimes we have to play by the rules. I would rather see this fight than not see this fight. Is it too late? It's certainly coming at the tail end of their careers. Obviously, would we have liked to have seen it 3 times by now? Of course, but we haven't. So let's just get it done for 2026, wherever that may be, and however the deal is made. We need Fury Joshua or Joshua Fury for the casual fans and our sport.
Adam, you say, you know, when in your time at Sky, it almost happened a few times. There was big talk of it. And I remember my time there with you. I remember that. But here's the thing. Why didn't it happen? What was the stumbling block? Who was the stumbling block?
As I said, I think there's a huge amount of people that are needed to make sure every box is ticked. And Eddie Hearn, of course, would protect Anthony Joshua as Freddie Cunningham and the team, and his trainer, I think, Rod McCracken, or whoever it was at the time. You know, they've got their say. They've got their say on money as well. Tyson Fury has his as well. He was bouncing around different broadcasters. One was on TNT, one was on Sky. Very hard to make these big fights. But, of course, money does come into it massively, and now Turki Al-Sheikh is putting on the biggest fights in the world, whether it's Batevia and Bivol, whether it's the one we had in Riyadh recently on November 22nd with a huge amount of top trade fights, or whether it's the fight that I think certainly British fight casuals want to see, which is Fury and Joshua. It will be made. So, yeah, lots of stumbling blocks in the past. That's history. Nothing we can do about that. They are 36 and 37. We need to have it now before it is really too late. So I would say if they booked it in for September, let's embrace it. AJ's got a small amount of ring time to do on Friday this week against Jake Paul. Then I think we'll see him back in the early part of 26, maybe against a sort of decent top 10 heavyweight, and then hopefully let's see Tyson Fury and Joshua in September. If they've signed it, great. I didn't get that impression on Thursday night when I was with Tyson, but it's all smoke and mirrors, of course. But Spencer Brown put his hand up in the crowd when we asked him if he thought Fury Joshua would happen in 2026. So he's Fury's manager. He's as close as you can be. I think it will happen, and I think we've got to accept it's a little bit too late, and maybe it won't be in London, but it's going to happen.
You're telling me, Simon, it hasn't happened pure and simply because of money.
Yeah, of course. And the fact of the matter is it doesn't require a lot of people to do it. It requires one person to step up and put his hand up for the finances, which is why Turki Al-Sheikh has driven a coach and horses through boxing, which is why Eddie and Frank are sitting there as best friends now, Frank's adopted son Eddie, because they've been given a common goal. The fact of the matter is Netflix have just proved something else as well. If Netflix wanted to do this, it doesn't need Turki Al-Sheikh. Netflix could do this. Netflix could put this show on in London if they wanted to, with a drive to subscribe, to create the subscriber numbers that they've done with the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fight, and the Jake Paul versus obviously Anthony Joshua. Obviously, Jake Paul's a unique phenomenon. He brings his massive audience with him.
Yeah.
But this fight could be done in a variety of different ways, and it is sad. And it isn't. I mean, it's not going to be a damp squib. The fight itself will not be a damp squib. Maybe the audience won't be what we're used to, which is the raucous brilliance of the British boxing crowd. No one replicates. Not the Americans. Nobody around the world replicates British boxing fans. But the fight itself won't be a damp squib.
Adam, just to finish, you've been to some of the biggest fights that we've ever seen, biggest fights in history, and you've worked on them. Where does this thing on Friday rate with you? Anthony Joshua against Jake Paul. Honestly, where is it?
Well, it's certainly not one of the biggest fights in boxing history. It's one of the most curious matches that has ever been made, I think. And everyone will be tuned in from wherever you are in the world. I'm not in Miami. I'm actually in Ghana for a Craig Richards Dan Aziz show. But we'll all be watching it because of the fascination, the story, how long Jake Paul will last with Joshua, I guess is the question. What will Joshua's mindset be? Will he want to take him out quickly? Will he want to get a round or two back? He hasn't fought since September last year, but I think everyone will be watching. And I don't know, I guess the best that can happen is Jake Paul comes out with some sort of reputation intact by taking on Joshua. Joshua gets the win and we all move on. But it will be watched. It will be watched because of curiosity, entertainment, voyeurism, and a little bit like that, I think. But yeah, let's bring it on.
Okay, Adam, safe trip to Ghana and back. Simon, get into the break, though. When you think of it, multiple losses to Usyk. What will the winner of this matchup, AJ Fury, what will they actually prove?
That one of them's got a bigger bank balance than the other.
Is that about it?
I suspect so.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the battle of the also-rans. The heavyweight division has moved on.
In terms of legacy?
It's a great fight. Irrespective of when it's happened, it's a great fight. It's between two sporting icons in British boxing that have achieved different things. I think Tyson Fury was the lightning rod for the whole heavyweight division, and Anthony Joshua should be thanking him because he opened up that avenue by beating Klitschko and splitting the belts up. Anthony Joshua raised the bar because he became the golden boy of British boxing. The two of them fighting at some point is an inevitability. It's past its sell-by date in terms of them being the best versions of themselves. But if we can be sold that pup, which is Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank 2, then we can be sold this one.
Okay. Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul this Friday. Thereafter, Anthony Joshua against Tyson Fury sometime, we're told, in 2026. We'll see. We've heard it all before. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin O'Neill, live in talkSPORT this lunchtime, live on your TV as well, even Prime Video, wherever you want to watch us, we are there. I'm going to bring some quotes to you from Enzo Maresca in the last few moments. Chelsea, of course, in the Carabao Cup quarter-final at Cardiff. It's live in talkSPORT. That is tomorrow. Maresca has been speaking in the last 10-15 minutes ahead of that. Just a reminder on what Maresca said over the weekend following Chelsea's 2-0 win over Everton. He was asked about the performance of Malo Gusto, and then he kind of went off on one.
Since I joined the club, the last 48 hours has been the worst 48 hours since I joined the club, because many people didn't support us.
What do you mean in terms of the not people supporting you in the last 48 hours?
Worst 48 hours since I joined the club, because people didn't support me and the team.
People in terms?
In general.
Peter? Do you mean fans or? Yeah.
I love the fans, and we are very happy with the fans.
So we all get the gist of it then. Since I joined the club, the last 48 hours have been the worst because many people didn't support us. So, in the last half hour, Maresca almost inevitably was asked, remember what you said at the weekend? What do you mean by that? He says, I can speak Italian, my language Spanish very well, French, English. I think I was clear with what I said. It's done, it's finished. It was after the game, I said what I said, and it's done, it's finished. He was then asked, have you explained what you meant to people at the club? He says, I already spoke about that. I don't need to add more things. I start to prepare the Cardiff game the morning after Everton. And then it was like, yeah, we know that. He was asked, are you happy with people saying that you've got a bad relationship with the...
The more you listen to it, I mean, unless you're privy to the exact circumstances and what the imparting of the message meant to him, the more foolish it sounds. I mean, from the point of view of it sounds like a whine. So as a person that believes in resilience, I'm thinking to him, oh, shut up. The second part, it feels like an act of self-harm. You've made yourself the centre of a story, and now, of course, the media are going to ask you, or sections of the media are going to ask you, what did you mean? So if you're going to say something, why don't you say it? And it's riddle me this, riddle me that. I hope that it's not brought about his demise, because I think he's going in the right direction. There's a lot more about Maresca. Whether I think he's a pound-down version of Pep Guardiola is a different discussion. But I think Chelsea are going in the right direction with him. So if he's done himself in because he said something silly, or he hasn't been able to cope with the nature of the ownership that he's working for, then I think it's a sad way for him to go. I hope that's not the case. I fear that it might be.
You see, he was given the opportunity there, Martin. And I know we're kind of almost forensically looking at this, but he had the opportunity in the last half hour to clear this up when he was asked, are you happy with people saying that you've got a bad relationship with owners or sporting directors? Are you happy with people saying that? And he says, I love Chelsea supporters. They deserve the best. Again, I've nothing to add. That was his moment. He could have said, look, I'm happy. But he didn't.
Well, I have to say this here, and I shouldn't be criticising all the managers for mistakes I've made myself, but he did start it. And the inevitable question was going to be asked, well, if you can't explain it or didn't explain it the other day, then we are going to be asking this question again.
How do you clear that up? And it's like that twit at Liverpool. How does he clear up what he said?
Yeah.
How do you clear it up? You turn around and said...
What twit?
Salah.
Oh, Salah, all right.
How do you clear up what you've said?
Right.
You meant what you said.
Yeah.
So how do you clear that up? Oh, actually, I got it wrong. I've been very well supported.
Yeah.
Is that what you say? He looks a fool then, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got to come out and say it, because it was obviously irritating him over the weekend. And now you're going to be asked the question again. You know you're going to be asked this again, and you can't say it's over, because it isn't eventually over until you answer it.
The only thing you can do is open a further can of whoop-ass and say who it was.
Well, this is it. I mean, this is what comes, Martin, is it not? When you engage the media to make a point. And you kind of made your point, but then he's got the reverse light on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, it's down to a bit of experience. I would have thought during my time that I have gone to the media where it's totally and utterly backfired. I mean, I don't think I lost a job over it or anything like that, but I do think, why what did I do there? That was just a real waste of time.
Yeah.
Not only a waste of time, it actually puts you into a position where you're answerable the next day or the day after that until you do actually clear it.
It feels like it's an immaturity, and I don't mean to be condescending, but there is a difference between people in a boardroom and people in a dugout, and I made it earlier on. I know you've got to face press conferences. I know it's an emotional business, but there is a balance between what you could and should say and what you will say. And it's silly to say these things. No other industry in the world would you expect a subordinate of very powerful, influential people to walk out in front of the world's media and turn around and say, I think he's crap, and expect to have any kind of reward for that, which is effectively what he's saying. So managers...
Are you a subordinate, Martin?
Of course he is.
Well, you are. If you're an employee, you are, I suppose, to a certain extent, a subordinate. But I've never felt at any football club that I've ever been a subordinate. And
you've not been subordinated, but there is a pecking order in the same way there's a pecking order with you. You wouldn't expect your coaches to say something out of place.
No.
You wouldn't expect if you asked one of your coaches to go out and do a presser, and they can turn around and say, "I'm fed up with him." You'd have something to say about that. Well, you're subordinate.
Simon, be serious with me for a second. Once you digest this, and he was given the chance to clear it up in the last half hour, and I've just quoted him, and he didn't. He didn't.
He can't clear it up.
So let's say they beat, with all due respect to Cardiff in the Carabao Cup, let's say after that Chelsea have won it, they go through. If you're Igbali or Bowley, do you quietly lift the phone to him and say, Enzo, in the build-up to that, in fact, after the game against Everton at the weekend, we listened to what he said, and then in the build-up to the game against Cardiff, incidentally, well done for winning it. What were you on about?
Well, you'd know what he's on about because he's referring to you. You wouldn't have been party to it, so you'd know precisely what he's on about, and the person or people that he's talking about will know precisely what he's on about. And the question is whether do they give him dispensation?
Do you think before this morning he was told to zip it?
Possibly. But if it were me and I were dealing with that, I'd be saying to him, pack it in. Right, you've got something to say it to me. You can say what you want to me, whether you get the outcome you want as a result of it, but you don't say it to the media. You don't do that. That shows me that you're not capable of managing. That shows me that you're not capable of understanding that the fact in life, and we've had this discussion, you don't always get what you want. It's not my job to wipe your backside. It's not my job to support you in everything you do. It's my job to hold you to account, give you the resources that I think are appropriate for the job that I gave you.
Yeah.
By my standards, not yours, mine.
Yeah, Chelsea
with my money.
We are none. I'll go back to money. We are none the wiser after this morning's instalment with Enzo as to what he meant at the weekend. What do you think he means when he said, since I joined the club, the last 48 hours have been the worst because many people don't support us? You support him, presumably, but maybe other people within the club don't. Is it your belief now that Maresca might be on the way out? Maybe. Do you read that into it? Give us a shout. 03717 223344. Jim White, Simon Jordan, and Martin O'Neill. Martin and I, of course, both subordinates to Simon, and we're live on talkSPORT.
Thank you.
Josh Tongue's recalled for the third Ashes test as Gus Atkinson's rested. That's the only England change for this must-win game. With careers on the line, Vice-Captain Harry Brooks says the players have had a lovely time off in Noosa.
It was probably came at the right time when we're 2-0 down. I know most people won't think that, but to get away from the game and try and refresh as much as possible after a tough start to the series, hopefully that can help us leading into this game.
That's not gone down well on talkSPORT Breakfast, where the boys are thinking of the long-suffering Barmy Army.
At what point did Harry think they'd be delighted to hear that he's had a couple of belting days?
Yeah. Yes.
More on talkSPORT's cricket YouTube. Alan Pardew says Thomas Frank must be given time to turn things around. Frank's described Spurs as not a quick fix. They've only had one win in their last 7 games. Meanwhile, Ruben Amorim accepts criticism from Man United's class of '92 as fair.
The problem is that me as a manager, I'm not doing good enough. And that is a fact also, and I can accept that. So that is the only problem.
Paul Scholes said Amorim's not the right man and the unfancied Kobbie Mainoo should leave. Man United v Bournemouth is live on talkSPORT tonight from 7 p.m. And Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes is out for the season after tearing his ACL. The Chiefs have failed to make the NFL playoffs for the first time in 11 seasons. More on the talkSPORT USA YouTube.
Now, the PDC World Darts Championship is underway. talkSPORT and Pitch Experiences could be sending you there on the 23rd of December. The countdown's on. Get your entry in by Thursday. You and 3 mates could be living up with platinum seats, fine dining, open bar, VIP access to the 501 lounge with Russ the Voice Bray. Then it's straight to your Prime Arena table for the best view in the house. Get ready for an unforgettable Ali Pali Christmas. Here's how to enter. For your chance to win, text DARTS to 83338. Text costs £2 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 4217508. The lines close at 4 o'clock this Thursday, and that's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. So for your chance to win, text DARTS now to 83338. This is a network promotion. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com. And good luck. Now, moments ago, in the company of Simon and Martin O'Neill, we were talking about Enzo Maresca, his comments at the weekend following the 2-0 win over Everton, when, amongst other things, he said, since I joined the club, the last 48 hours have been the worst because many people didn't support us. Now we have the audio in the last few moments from Enzo Maresca with the media at Chelsea's media conference, and you can hear from himself. He was asked, all right, at the weekend, what did you mean?
I already spoke about that, and I think I was quite clear. No more than that.
But with all due respect, I don't think you were clear, because you said something that is open to a lot of interpretation. So obviously when you make those comments, you have to accept the fact that people are going to talk about them.
I respect your opinion, and I respect people's opinion, but again, I don't have nothing to add. And my focus is just on tomorrow game, that we can achieve the first semi-final in 18 months since I joined the club.
So are you happy about the fact that people are saying you have a bad relationship with the sporting directors, you have a bad relationship with one of the owners, you don't like feedback from them? Because you said something extraordinary. You said this was the worst 48 hours of your time at the club, and then you didn't explain that. You don't think Chelsea supporters deserve an explanation?
I said after the game that I love Chelsea support. They deserve the best. And again, I don't have nothing to add.
Okay, are you happy being the Chelsea head coach? And are you committed to Chelsea 100%?
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, I don't know. Simon to my left is laughing in here. It's almost like you, Enzo, you will fold under questioning. We will continue to question you. What did he mean? And why is he not biting when he's asked again this morning? Phil is a Chelsea fan. Phil, what do you think it was about?
Well, I think there's 2 points here. Point number one, he was unwise to say what he said in the first place. But if he's since been told, shut up or else, which is probably likely, therefore he cannot say anything further. And two, according to most media, and that includes talkSPORT, I hear nothing. I'm not privy to what goes on at Chelsea's board. I hear nothing. The fact that we've got two owners who are pulling in opposite directions. Maybe, just maybe, that's perhaps what he's talking about.
What do you think, Simon? Well, Phil's entitled to his opinion. What do you think?
I think he's been smacked. I think he did more mental gymnastics than Martin did in the first hour to avoid answering a question about Celtic as he did about asking a question about what he meant. He wasn't clear at all. And I thought the journalist, as much as I would want to strangle the journalist if I was him, he opened this can and now he's been told to put a lid on it. I don't think it's about Egbali and Todd Bowley going in different directions. One's a 62% shareholder, will end up owning the club. The other one is the noise that people attach with Chelsea, which is Bowley. This is about something that this is about other things. This, to my view, this is about the construct of the team, how they get played, what the overriding vision of the team is. And I suspect the manager has had a bold moment and then realised the reality of the real world, a bit like Ferguson did when he took on Magnia and McManus over the Rock of Gibraltar. Get dragged into the real world and get told by people that actually have more money and power than you do, rather than the media world, which is shut up and do as you're told. And that's what he's probably been told.
So how do you think it Philip, before you leave us, how do you think this plays out then?
I think there's a good possibility he will go, but I also think Simon is speaking an opinion, not a fact. So whilst I respect what Simon says, that doesn't make it so.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You're entitled to that. What do you think? How do you think it plays out, Simon? I mean, if you're Egbali or Bowley, are you still the Enzo? You can't say things like that. Don't start something you can't finish.
I think so, yeah. But it depends what you think the job that he's doing is. I mean, if you want to take umbrage, and I don't. Let's assume I might have a little bit more than just an opinion. Right? Let's assume I might have a little bit of knowledge about this conversation. I don't think they're children about the manager. They'll understand there's certain things that managers do and don't say. If he continues to produce a team that's effective for Chelsea's overall outcomes, which is winning football team that will increase the capital value of a private equity investment, they'll keep him in situ. If he doesn't, they'll get rid of him. If someone like Oliver Glasner becomes available and they think he can do a better job than Maresco, out the door he'll go.
Yeah.
So it won't be just based upon the unwiseness and the immaturity of a manager that's gotten carried away with himself and said something that he can't finish. Because he's like a neutered dog in there. I think I've been clear. I mean, he couldn't have been any less clearer. And then if someone gives him a lifeline by saying, you said it wasn't the fans. Oh, I love the fans. Well, this is the same fans that you were complaining about last year that were booing your goalkeeper when it took too long to clear the ball. You had something to say about them then. Now you love them. It was a silly conversation for him to have. And he's been dragged into a space now that ultimately makes him look relatively foolish because he can't finish the sentence.
Yeah.
So what was the point of starting it?
So we don't really know what he meant, and we don't really know when or if he'll return to what he was talking about. But we'll keep across it. We know what Thomas Frank meant after Tottenham went to Nottingham Forest yesterday and lost by 3-0. Far from happy. This was Thomas.
I think I do everything to control my emotions, which is a hurricane inside me, because of course it's deeply frustrating that we are not doing better today after 3 good performances. I think it's extremely important to be calm and measured, and of course have very, very direct and clear messages at the right time, so they're not in doubt of what I think. And very honest about where we are. That's why I was also very honest today. It was a very bad performance. No two ways about that. But also know that to change this will take some time, because you can't. No one want to hear about that. It's just reality. I think the one who have followed the club and the team, I think it's fair to say there's been a few not too consistent performances, and that's the thing we are working very hard on.
Man, that's the thing. I mean, after 3 games unbeaten, Tottenham produced a lacklustre performance, just 1 shot on target at Forest. I mean, doing reasonably well in Europe and then hitting domestic inconsistency. There's a touch of deja vu about this, isn't there?
Well, again, I'm getting back to the point. I suppose I'm in the managers' union here because I felt that at the beginning of the season that Thomas, one, deserved this opportunity for the job that he had done at Brentford, and here it was to manage a big club like Tottenham Hotspur, and so I still think that he's got the ability to pull these league results around. And maybe sometimes you might think to yourself, well, should you put everything onto the manager? Some players have to take a wee bit of responsibility. I know maybe that's just me playing the managerial role, but players do have to accept responsibility on the field of play. They've given away a really soft goal to begin with. That was the opening of the game. This playing out at the back, there's teams get caught every single week, and I just don't mean teams and outside of big league football. I'm talking about big teams getting caught in possession of the ball, where who you concede a goal, and that becomes a big moment in the game. You're 0-0. You're doing fine. You've quelled the opening charge of the opposition, and then suddenly you've just given a goal away, and the whole momentum changes. You keep doing that there, then you find yourself in trouble.
What is your take that these days, Martin, players seem to take to social media fairly quickly to say, "Oh, sorry about that." A message to the fans. I mean, this one comes a couple of weeks after criticising Spurs fans. This is Pedro Porro I'm talking about, telling the true fans that he indeed loved them, which was lovely to hear. Porro on this occasion post-match, after the 3-0 defeat yesterday. Not for the first time, Spurs players are apologising for poor performance. And yesterday, Pedro Porro gave another statement. He says, the away fans don't deserve this. Today was a bad game from us. Every game is difficult in the Premier League. We can play on Tuesday and win in the Champions League, but in the Premier League it's different. Maybe more intensity. I don't know. But I feel especially sorry for the fans. The fans don't deserve this today. Yes, we know that, Pedro.
Well, that's a total ingratiation of himself to the fans. That's what that is. That is, I'll tell you something now. I can imagine these things existing sometimes when Brian Clough and I have been hopeless in a game, and he has just told me I've been hopeless in a match, and then me going outside and going onto social media and saying that the fans deserve better than that. No, they deserve better from your performances, mate. And you get a grip of yourself. Yeah. Get a grip of yourself. I hope he's including himself in that group of players who didn't play so well. Players, they'll do your brain in.
I mean, with the squad at their disposal, Simon, how much was last season's 17th place finish an accident?
How do you mean an accident? They sacrificed the league in pursuit of the Europa League.
Well, how much better are they now?
Well, they're better because they're better. Their position in the league is better.
So is this a good squad?
No, I don't think so. No, I've said that for some time. I think that it's not a good squad. I don't mean ultimately you miss the Madisons of the world, you miss the Kulicheskis that are creative influence on the team, you miss the Solankis that give you a spearhead and a certain focal point. I mean, criticising the players, we have got the society that we've created. This is what we want. Are we objecting to the fact that they say it in a press conference or say it in a post-match interview to some gurning reporter from the BBC or Sky News or doing it on social media? What is the problem? We want people to turn around and speak. Whether they do it through Instagram or they do it. If they turn around and say nothing, then media will criticise them for saying nothing. If they turn around and not acknowledge the fans, I mean, what is all this about, going over and applauding fans? What is this all about, winning individual games and taking a team photograph? What is this all about walking onto a pitch and shaking the opposition's hands before a game? What is all that about? It's a modern construct of how football should be played, and it's a part of the culture we've created, so we can't criticise it. We've told players that they are highly worthwhile individuals that are very important what they say. So when they say what they say, we then criticise them for it. I mean, what he said the other day about the Spurs fans, I thought was wrong, because he turned around and said, "I'm not having it. The one thing I won't have." Who are you to say the one thing you won't have? The reasons why you got booed is because you were crap. And when you get praised, I'm not having that. You don't hear anybody say, "I'm not having that praise. I refuse to accept it." You don't hear that, do you? So that's my issue with the issue. But we've created a culture and a society where people are expected to apologise, and they don't apologise, then they're castigated for it. People are expected to account for their performances and acknowledge everyone from your aunt to your uncle and every single member of the fan base. And if they don't, they're vilified.
Well, come off social media then.
But social media, I agree, but then the football clubs want it, because we've had Man United on this show turning around and saying that their social media department curates content based upon what the fans want to hear. We've had players come out like Harry Maguire that have been imparted messages because social media trends have been told by the club to say the players say that. So you can't have it both ways. You can't monetize your football club through the digital footprint you've got and then complain about what it says.
So you're saying to me, and this is new to me, so you are saying that the clubs actively want players to go on social media?
Of course they do. Their digital footprint, they will value football clubs based upon how many digital followers they've got. They will look at it and say, look at Man United, turn around and say, we've got the most digital followers in the world, because they know that it represents huge economic returns.
Yeah.
What does huge economic returns mean? Okay. More transfer fees and bigger wages and more success in the end.
Anyway, how the Tottenham fans reacted to Pedro Porro's comments is up to them. I feel especially sorry for the fans. The fans don't deserve this today.
Give them the money back then.
You're right, Pedro. They didn't. It's Jim White, Martin O'Neill and Simon Jordan live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Now then, a couple of podcasts to turn your attention to. Remember, if you miss any of our shows, make sure you download the Outspoken podcast with all the best bits from White and Jordan every day in a bite-sized listen. And the latest episode of 21 Minutes Ago podcast with Goldstein and Cundy is out now. The two reunite for a podcast that you don't really want to miss. Outspoken podcast and 21 Minutes Ago, both available now to download on your favourite podcast provider. Martin O'Neill has been with us, and the phone lines went into meltdown when we started the show this morning. Martin, delighted you could be with us, and no doubt you'll be with us again very soon, that you have handed the reins over to Wilfred Nancy at Celtic, and we'll see how that goes. Celtic in action midweek against Dundee United. We'll see where that goes. But we finished today with the Mo Salah situation, and of course last week we were right on it. As soon as we began the show, it was all about Mo Salah. And that outburst at Elland Road, Leeds, after Liverpool had played Leeds. And it looked like they were going to win that game. They ended up drawing the match. And Salah said his bit in no uncertain terms. Liverpool saw off Brighton at the weekend 2-0. And Salah went on an emotional lap of honour, it's fair to say, after the win, before he headed off to the Africa Cup of Nations to represent Egypt, of course. Arne Slot spoke about Salah because Salah came on the 26th minute. He replaced the injured Joe Gomez. He set up a goal, incidentally, for Ekitike. And of course, post-match, we thought he might speak. He didn't. Through the mix zone, he walked straight through it. He was asked, do you want to say a few words? 2 weeks in a row? No thanks, said Mo. Arne Slot said, well, he's going to AFCON now. I hope he's going to do very well. And in the meantime, we have to play here without him. Yeah, of course, I want him to come back. He's a Liverpool player. And the moment that he is there and available to us, I like to use him. And we need him. So the door is open to Mo to return. Martin, as a manager, I wonder, and it went through my mind when we were talking about Salah last week, and I was thinking about you. I wonder how you might have dealt with it. We saw how Arne Slot dealt with it. But Salah's outburst, did it floor you like it floored many people?
I would have been apoplectic about it. And I would have been even publicly apoplectic about it as well too. So, yeah, I mean, first of all, talking about being thrown under the bus because he has been made some promises. You might have been made promises about money or something like this. You cannot be made promises about your position on the field. Because if you go 6, 7, 8, 9 games without producing, it doesn't matter what you've done in the past. He's a super player. But if it's not happening to you, but if he's had a go at you saying you've no relationship with a manager, he would have had to gone down and given the biggest unreserved apology ever in history to me. And he would have had to have gone down on his knees and begged to get back into the football club again. On a slight exaggeration in that sense. And I would like to have had that filmed as well, too, when he is apologising to me.
It's understood he hasn't apologised.
Well, yeah. First of all, he was left out of the squad that went to Europe, didn't he? He was left out of there. You keep him out of the side. Listen, I think the reaction of the players, the other players, they've got great admiration for what he has done at the football club. But I think the captain came up and said, well, we've also done our bit as well too, so it's not just a one-man team. And he has been fantastic. There's no question about it. But at the end of it all, really, you've got to be the manager. What is he? He's not going to be happy with it. And he'll have to deal with it in as strong a fashion as possible. If, in fact, he hasn't apologised and he's brought back into it, I wouldn't be happy with that.
You see, Martin, I mean, comments, former Celtic player, of course, now Liverpool captain, Virgil van Dijk, he seems to suggest that the matter isn't finished yet. It's still open-ended. I wish Mo all the best at AFCON and come back, hopefully. He says, I have no control over that, whether he comes back. I would love to have him around because he's one of my leaders. We'll be in contact over the next days, weeks. We always are. And then let's see.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. I don't know what to make of that. There, you've just read it to me, but at the minute, I'm sure that's going to be the case. He goes off now there, and actually, he heading off in that direction gives a little bit of breathing space for everyone to consider what has happened. But it's not the dumb thing. He wasn't thrown under the bus as well. It wasn't any of these things. He was left out of the side because Liverpool were having a poor time of it. and he was contributing to that poor time remarkably.
Martin, great to have you back. I'm glad it went so well for you up there.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Down here, we were rooting for you. And we always will. It's great to have you back.
Well, it's interesting because Simon, we spoke beforehand, and Simon said, well, what have you got to lose? And I said, well, like plenty. But no, it was, and it's true. So I'm pleased for your support, and thank you very much, Jim.
Martin O'Neill with us this morning, and thanks to you, Martin, for your contribution. As for you, Manana, do you do your top boxing today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. You can go home this afternoon and think about it. Thanks to everybody. Thanks from the Celtic fans for all the messages, all the texts and the tweets. All regards, Martin, and your admiration and your love for the man himself. It's 1 o'clock.